Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to TRTN for tonight's coverage of Season 6, Round 10 of the NLRL Sunday League, powered by TRTN. As always, I am Regan Clark, and you join us here from the commune of Monza, in the region of Lombardy in northern Italy, at one of the most iconic circuits in mainland Europe, and as history would have it, its oldest, as you join us from the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. The oldest track in mainland Europe, despite being the third global oldest behind Brooklands and Indianapolis, this track was founded in 1922, comprised of 11 turns and 3.6 miles of FIA Grade 1 over a century's worth of motorsports history in one of the most passionate nations in global motorsport. Will serve as the final round of Season 6 today. This track is, of course, the eternal home of the Italian Grand Prix, having run the Italian Grand Prix since 1950 in the dawn of the Formula One World Championship. It also continues to see action on the international stage from the GT World Challenge Europe Series, as well as a convergence point for this year of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo World Finals, where it will see both the Europe, Asia and North America series converge for their final round of the 2026 season. And that's not just including international events. On the national level, the Italian GT Championship, the TCR Italian Series, Italian F4 Championship and Porsche Carrera Cup Italia are just a handful of events that run at this mighty circuit, the Temple of Speed, as it's known by motorsports fans for today's event. The speed listings that we've touted over the course of this season have all been taken from this very track, so they could not have more relevance than they do today. Just having a quick glance at those, and we'll be bringing that up many a time over the course of today's broadcast. You join us though here on the final round of the championship. It has been a long saga here since back in May on the 17th for the start of the series in the brand new regulations for Season 6, with brand new event styles having started all the way back at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We started in Europe, and having travelled across 3 continents including Europe, we'll finish right where we started here back in mainland Europe at the home of the Italian Grand Prix. If you joined us last round, you would have seen things wrap up in the championship across all 3 major portions: the drivers, the rookies and the teams championship. And taking a look back through the season so far, the most recent round at round 9 sprint and feature at the Red Bull Ring gave Tyler Vermaak back-to-back victories, bringing his current win tally up to 14 now, the second highest in history on the NLRL Sunday League. It also saw inaugural wins in the rookies division for Declan Anderson, and yet another win for the rookies champion Patrick Leger. More on that in a moment, because of course, as mentioned, this did reveal to us 3 champions in one night, starting with the drivers championship. Tyler Vermaak, after 3 seasons lying in wait to take the championship once more, crossed the line to become the drivers champion. Only unlike Season 3, this one stuck, and he retains the championship mantle, the first McLaren to do so since the reign of Melvin Milliston from Season 3 to Season 4. In the rookies championship then, we find that of Patrick Leger, who now joins the likes of Carlos Disch and William Bajor since the introduction of the Rookies Championship in Season 4 of the Sunday League. And last but not least, the Teams Championship, which sees Euro Titans now 2 on the bounce since their first in Season 5. As far as where that concerns the championship standings, taking a look then at the overall driver standings for tonight's event, with Vermaak having secured away the Drivers' Championship title, no one is there to dispute that one, with Cas van Velzen down to 2nd, having been given drop points advantage over Zolt Beefgartner, who now makes 3rd. But with van Velzen allegedly out of the championship and Beefgartner present tonight, that could still change before the season is out. Leger, your rookies champion, is 4th overall and up and ahead of Carlos Disch, last season's rookies champion, who rounds out the top 5. Alan Alexander makes 6th place ahead of Brooklyn Donkin in 7th. Fake Galaxy makes 8th. 9th place for George Todd of Maloir Racing, and rounding out the top 10 in the overall driver standings is Ian Skeen of Euro Titans Aston Martin with 82.5 points. Taking a look over towards the rookies and teams championships, having a glance here with Leger having secured that one hand over fist away from Lamming and De Vos. They make the podium at the moment, only 7 points apart, with Lamming to advantage. And further behind them there, Richard Claffey in 4th, Luca Tamburini in 5th, Declan Anderson up to 6th place ahead of Ruben Pino in 7th, Joseph Reyes in 8th, Demetrio McLeon in 9th, and Pedro Lopo rounds out the top 10 in the Rookies Championship standings. What may be among the last times we track that, and we'll speak more about that later on in the talks surrounding the new regulations for Season 7. Plenty more to follow though, and next into the Teams Championship, of course, Euro Titans secured their 2nd on-the-trot championship bid in the Teams division, ahead of 5 Star Esports and TSRC Esports on the podium. Hispania make 4th with Maloir in 5th, Talkline up to 6th ahead of CRT Racing in 7th, with ITAM Racing 8th, VEC Esports in 9th, and Keck Sim Racing Team rounding out that top 10. After what has been 72 races of the NLRL Sunday League, we find ourselves presented here with 2 more wins for Tyler Vermaak on what has been a mostly Vermaak-led championship thus far. We see that his winning streak started around round 2 of the series, where he took 2 on the trot in the sprint at Indianapolis. That third race was one of grandiose nature there from Alan Alexander, from the last to the lead. A brilliant form there for the Bentley driver over at Euro Titans. Then we got to see, such was the case for the premiere round at Season 6 Round 1. Then we all got to see at Season 6 Round 3 was back-to-back wins for Carlos Diesch in his tenure with Audi. One that we'll quickly report on in a moment's time has taken a broadly new chapter. Some keen-eyed viewers may remember where he's headed off to, but we'll get a look into that once we return to the grid. We've also seen wins this season for Van Velzen and a brand new race winner there in the form of Jared Vermeulen. Vape Galaxy secured their career 3rd in Bathurst all the way over in Round 8. And we saw the first overall win at Season 6's sprint, at the feature race in Imola, albeit under red flags, but it was the first nonetheless for Patrick Leger. So 2 new winners this season in the form of Jared Vermeulen and Patrick Leger, the former of which brought Ferrari their first ever win as a manufacturer. And taking a look at the ballast for tonight's event sees a continued rise there for Tyler Vermaak, a notable rise there for Patrick Leger, who now dips up and above that of Carlos Diesch's tenure under successed ballast regulations. Right now, though, Vermaak is head and shoulders up in the lead of things there, and much to his own detriment as he stares down 39 kilos of additional weight for the run in towards tonight's event. Looking at the regulations for today, we're on the sprint format for the last and 10th round of the championship. We're in free practice at the moment. Coming up in a moment's time will be 20 minutes of qualifying to set the stage across all 3/3 of this race day. 20-minute races back to back to back. Race 1, 2 and 3 following in quick junction to one another, neither of which feature much longer than a 3.2 second stop there, as we are once again on the open strategy. 1 mandatory pit stop each. We will expect these stint times to be split down the middle here, roughly 10 minutes apiece. After today's event, we'll be discussing the Season 7 regs and hopefully getting a look in with our drivers and rookies champions to reveal the Season 7 calendar. More to follow, though, over the course of today's event. Following on board at the moment with Nick Lamming, who's got sizable chance to retain podium positions in the Rookies Championship before the season is out. He holds 2nd place in the number 87 car. Taking a look at balance of performance for today sees the introduction of a new manufacturer. Honda joins the grid, and we'll reveal with who in just a moment's time, as Bentley finds himself for the first time behind a manufacturer in terms of weight loss. They lose 13 kilos, where Honda loses 19. Porsche lose 6, Audi lose 1. Mercedes gain 2, Lamborghini gain 3, Aston Martin gain 4, McLaren 5, Ferrari 9, Ford 12, BMW 13, and Nissan with a whopping 20. And so, taking a look onto the grid, meeting the light now, we see here, we saw him in the background for a little while, but we didn't mention who it was. It's Carlos Diesch, who has joined Honda. Some keen-eyed viewers who have joined us earlier this week on our coverage of the OLRX VSR Midweek Championship and our visit to Alton Park would have seen this debut ahead of its arrival to the Sunday League. But Carlos Diesch, in a stroke of mad science, has brought Honda to the NLRL Sunday League, and so far is not looking too far off the fastest time. It's a Japanese 1-2-3 courtesy of Lexus and Honda. And this remarkable little machine here, the late 2nd generation Honda NSX, introduced in the late 2010s, 3.5-litre twin-turbo V6, jam-packed with technology, but failed to meet expectations in the European market. Obviously one highly saturated with midship sports cars from legacy labels like Ferrari, Lamborghini, Audi and Aston Martin, among several others. I suppose midships would be more front ships for Aston Martin, but regardless of that, Honda failed to sell on that 2nd-gen car, but that does not make it a failure on the track. Right at the very end of free practice, then 2nd fastest for Carlos Diesch, as Declan Anderson is fastest for Lexus. Then Zolt Beefgartner to make 3rd. Japan locks out the top 3 with the legendary RCF and the iconic NSX. Following behind them then, a new driver to the field. This is Nathan Corbett in the 888 Lamborghini of X-Ray Motorsports. He makes his debut tonight among several other drivers that we'll get a look through over the course of today's event. Ben Cheeseman rounds out the top 5 ahead of Caleb Tate in 6th place. Another new driver to our radar here, and we'll get a look on board with quite a fair few of these drivers over the course of today's event. Taking a look here to find that this is David Kolarik of Bohemia Motorsports in the number 32 car. We just saw going up ahead of him there Nick Lamming. Gabriel Rivera, who made his debut at the Red Bull Ring, was quite an exciting driver to watch with Aston Martin in the wet and wild conditions in Austria. Rounding out the top 10 at the moment is Pedro Lopo of Torqueline Motorsport. Rivera to 7th ahead of Lamming and Kolarik. 77 across the line, that would be for Flavio Castanella. No time set, sadly, for them. Number 22, Daniel Marquez, down towards the line. We see here, even though this track has quite the presence from Lamborghini on the motorsport stage, it is firmly in the backyard of Ferrari, in the hearts and minds of its fans. Of course, with the Tifosi gathering year on year at the Italian Grand Prix to cheer on Ferrari in Formula 1, this could be a rather interesting day ahead of us. With Ferrari taking centre stage as one of the most popular manufacturers on the grid, we are in towards qualifying here as we do head up in towards this session now. Leading that charge looks to be the Lexus of Zsolt Beefgartner. He was a no-show in the last round, was still numerically within the fight against Tyler Vermaak, albeit the chances were remarkably slim for the Hungarian talent. Regardless of it, though, he is back onto the grid and back with a force. As we saw, he was part of that 1, 2, 3 of all Japanese manufacturers. Lexus and Honda with a point to prove in a very oddball chapter. The last time we ended a season here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, it was back in Season 2 that saw Lexus to a historic run with Jason Busch, who took the title in Season 2's championship bid. Albeit that one ended under red flags, that did not take away from what the American was able to do over the course of the season, piloting the very same machinery that led today's free practice session. Sadly, no qualifying predictions to give us a comprehensive understanding of the top 10, but if we consult our notes here, there is still quite a fair few drivers to keep an eye out for, as the data is looking rather positive for these ones on the run in towards today's qualifying session. Keep an eye then out for Anderson, Leger, Cheeseman, Vermaak and Beefgartner, who were in a, albeit fairly scattered, but predicted top 5. Diesch had been setting in times for some time before today's event. Up to 48 hours before he entered the stage today did we know that he was setting times with Honda. And he is still looking rather competitive, albeit some of these drivers will be wrestling a monstrous amount of success ballast, especially in the case of Tyler Vermaak. Right now, even in spite of McLaren's changes, is 34 kilos over factory weight. With Beefgartner yielding to one side, it's the 888 that's going to lead the charge in towards today's session. Nathan Corbett of X-Ray Motorsports with Lamborghini. So, of course, at the home of the final round for multiple iterations of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series and Lamborghini's home race here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Let's go to catch on board with Corbett. Now, it's their forefather, the Gallardo, that was the fastest car we've ever seen here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, and it's on this very straight here between turn 11 and turn 1, down towards one of the most perilous turn 1 and 2 complex in motorsports history, the Variante Rettifilo. One of 3 chicanes on this circuit, and this one has spilled many ounces of blood, many gallons of blood over the years as one of the most dangerous sections of FIA Grade 1. It is renowned for causing trouble on lap 1 incidents, so we will be watching between our fingers for all 3 race starts to follow in today's event. Out through the Curva Grande, then in towards the second of our 3 chicanes, the Variante della Roggia. And this one's got quite a bit of a kickback to it. It's easy to overestimate, well, I suppose underestimate this corner and overestimate one's ability to take it. On the run up through now to the Curva de Lesmo at turns 6 and 7. The Curva de Lesmo section kicks itself back in the opposite direction, now running parallel for the run up towards that section. We run down the Curva de Seraglio on board with Corbett in the 888. Or Corbet, I believe it might be as well. We're still trying to learn some of the new drivers. Of course, plenty of fresh faces in the latter couple of rounds of this championship, so there'll be quite the lively assortment of new faces in towards Season 7, of which we're set to reveal the calendar for tonight out the exit of the Variante Ascari. Now, this one, of the 3, I would say has by and large created the most amount of incidents over the length of a race. Easy to misjudge that area and find yourself caught out with those monstrously high curbs, deceptively high, I should note as well, as we make our way through to the Curva Parabolica here at turn 11. Sharper entry, looser exit here as it opens itself out past turn 11, down towards the line. Then Nathan Corbett to the line in the 888, our first time of qualifying today. 149.035 from behind him goes the Honda of Carlos Diesch. Then from behind him went the, I believe, looking there was the number 599. So that was Zsolt Beefgartner, but no time set. Declan Anderson, however, is the Lexus that does put times on charts, and by 600ths ahead of Carlos Diesch. A Japanese 1-2 there from 2 instantly recognizable manufacturers, but Ford has a question or two for that. And the number 9, now fastest, 1:48.007 from Patrick Leger, your Season 6 Rookies champion. And it was Ford-led dominance in this division of the NLRL Sunday League. There has not been a single manufacturer to step up and take the Rookies Championship besides the Ford Motor Company. William Bajor of VEC Esports did so in Season 4, Carlos Diesch did in Season 5, and now Patrick Leger did in Season 6. Ford clears house in the rookies. But there could be a bit of a disturbance in the force, so to speak, with the introduction of Declan Anderson's recent bout at Lexus. There was quite a lot to be spoken for Anderson at the Red Bull Ring in our last visit to this championship on the night that crowned 3 champions for the price of 1. Anderson did walk away with a very solid tenure of results. Reluctantly so in race 2, he did fall into quite a pitfall and ended up losing out on his opportunities for further success. But I think that's only fired him up even more for the run-up towards this triple header tonight. There is going to be caution to the wind. We spoke with Patrick Leger last weekend at the Red Bull Ring upon his crowning of rookies champion to speak with him. And what he was able to tell us there, especially in the talks surrounding whether or not he'd be playing nice with his fellow teammate and drivers champion Tyler Vermaak, he said that the gloves were off, so to speak, and this was going to be a lot more of a ferocious race ahead. It was fighting words from the Dutchman, and we could already see that reflected in his qualifying performance. Has nearly put a full half second on Anderson, blowing that time way out of the water. And now we see Anderson returns with an extra volley here to now go nearly a quarter of a second up. Leger's down to the line. We see that's Nick Lamming along with him there. Down towards the line we go. The number 87 from behind the number 9. And the number 9 just clinches it there to go back up to the fastest time. 43 thousandths in the money there over the number 28. Anderson and Leger, where was this all this time in the Rookies Championship? Anderson has made an absolute blindsider of a choice in returning to more unconventional options. Of course, he did make a brief bout with Porsche. That proved to be too unstable. Went with a more conventional option with Ferrari. That proved to be even worse. That was fanning the flames, so to speak. And Anderson's move back to the unorthodox with Lexus has been the Goldilocks zone here for the talent in the 28. As it very, very nearly put him on the possibility of an outright win at the Red Bull Ring in those wet conditions that prevailed over the season's penultimate round. But here in what looks to be drier conditions, though I am told behind the scenes there was the anticipation to try and make this mixed conditions, the problem being to get those variables to line up to where the conditions will actually change over the course of 3 races. You are threading the eye of 20 needles, as it would, so to speak. Down to the line here with Ben Cheeseman in the 114, stays right where he is there from 5th place. Nearest to the line is the number 5, I believe here. So that would be for Felix Schwab of Keck Sim Racing Team. They're in the top 10 in the team's championship. Schwab and teammate Leon Schumacher were spearheading that charge. Schwab, by looks of it though, is by his lonesome for today's round. So without Leon Schumacher, from behind him is the 888. So Felix Schwab to the line there from 22nd, and stays where he is, the 888. Nathan Corbett just went up to 3rd place now. I believe, yes, 3rd place, as we just get the confirmation there for the 888. 214 thousandths clear from pole position. He puts about 3 tenths on Carlos Disch. Now, while it's a curious option to see drivers go towards Lexus, it's even more curious to see drivers go to Honda. Now, that is quite the gamble. We saw from Carlos Disch was still able to deliver on a solid result in Alton Park this week in his debut to Honda over on the OLR XVSR Midweek Championship. Meanwhile, we just saw there from Aston Martin's Gabriel Rivera now to the top 5. He's up and ahead of Ben Cheeseman, another new driver, one that's transferred from Fats GT during their season break. It's Ken Thomas in the number 88 Ferrari. Now, we have seen this driver on many an occasion over on Fats GT in our coverage of Season 10 and our current coverage of Season 11. This one is a very capable pack fighter. It is going to be quite the joy to see him on this grid. We had much the same praise to sing of Patrick Leger, and now look where he stands as the king of the rookies in Season 6. So high hopes here for Ken Thomas. A curiosity in the number 88. Of course, we are, so to speak, in Ferrari's backyard, but it's much a shared lot of land here with rivals Lamborghini. With Nathan Corbett in 3rd place, Ken Thomas makes 5th. That's division 3rd and 4th for the rookies alone. In between them is Carlos Disch, last season's rookies champion and recent transfer to Honda. Right now, they're nearest to the line. Getting a quick glance will be the number 5, I believe, again here. As we see, that's trouble there for Ken Thomas in the Armcos off the Curva de Lesmo. We'll catch on with him later on. Schwab to the line to 12th. From behind him was Corbett now to 2nd with Lamborghini. And get a glimpse at these margins here. I should point out, I believe we've yet to see, yes, we've yet to see Tyler Vermaak's times at all. We know he's in the session. He did want to show up here for tonight's round. And I believe the number 8 is just about to come to the line. But right now, front to back, it's a 10th in all. Actually, less than half a tenth between Anderson, Corbett and Leger third to first. That is quite something we're seeing here in Monza. A real clash of the worlds we're seeing. Of course, the old school Japanese brute machine here, the number 28 Lexus RCF, the last of the old guard in GT3, a nearly immortal design. Going toe-to-toe with newer machinery, the 2023 Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. Not Super Trofeo, sorry, I'm still thinking about Super Trofeo. Huracan GT3 Evo 2, though there is a Super Trofeo Evo 2 we have seen here on TRTN on our coverage of the TRC GT Manufacturers Cup. Do feel free to check that out on our YouTube channel. Great plug and great save, as we see at the moment. 2023 Lamborghini, and then, of course, 2023 Ford Mustang. 7th generation Mustang, and the first of its GT3 endeavours, has kicked off to quite a bang on the national and international stage in endurance racing. You see there in chat now, coming to the realization that he's apparently been disqualified, was Cas van Velzen. I believe that might have been something to do with sign-outs. That's been a case for quite a few drivers, and that's unfortunate to see that there was the ambition for Van Velzen to join us in tonight's event. But I guess we've now got somewhat of a watch-along here with Cas van Velzen. Of course, last season's Drivers' Champion in Season 5. He was on a bit of an on-and-off basis for scheduling this season, wasn't able to commit to a full season drive, and just a moment ago Nathan Corbet went fastest for Lamborghini in the backyard for their racing at the Super Trofeo series in both Europe, Asia and North America, all converge in October of this year to Monza. Right now it's a Lamborghini leading at their home race over Ford and Lexus. Rounding out the top 5, another Lexus here, Zolt Beefgartner, ever the faithful to the RCF. Beefgartner has been inseparable from the Lexus. At 5.99, currently 4th place, Carlos Diesch behind him there with Honda, round the top 5 out. Further down the line, it's Cheeseman, Kolarek, Thomas, Rivera, and Schwab in 10th. Further down the line, then, we see from Nick Lamming, Pedro Lopo, and Caleb Tate, Richard Claffey, Daniel Marquez, and Tyler Vermack, only as it stands here to 16th in a curious turn. This season's Drivers' Champion and 14-time race winner, I should point out as well. If we go to take a look at the all-time number of wins so far, he's only 4 away from what has been a previously unthinkably high title held by Melvin Milliston in his 2 championship run, where he went back-to-back for victories. He's up until season, I think it was up until season 4, was the only driver ever to take a win in every championship season of the NLRL Sunday League. He made a no-show for the most of season 5 and is yet to return to the Sunday League grid after assigning to 5-Star Esports this season. You see, though, he's only 4 wins away from levelling that distance to Milliston. Behind him then, Carlos Diesch makes the 3rd amount of race wins with 8 over his time here in the NLRL Sunday League. Behind them then, joint position between Kuiper, Busch and Van Velzen with 5 wins for Galaxy, with 3, Alan Alexander with 2, and 1 for the rest of that field there, including drivers like Leger, Vermeulen, Proger, Harris, Warner, Cassier, Rosnov, Skeen, Ivanov, Van Manen, Puttock and Baptiste. In terms of updates from the front lines here, it stays as it is from that top 3 here in qualifying as we drop in past the last 7 minutes of this session. Bear in mind, this will set the grid for all 3 races, and we see a big leap there from Vermack now up into the top 10. United with his fellow 5-Star Esports McLaren. That's Ben Cheeseman in the 114, just making his way out of the pit lane, having been recently joined by Vermack there in the top 10. These 2 separate by, as it stands, 9,000ths of a second, so super thin margins to happen there on the back end of the 3rd row. We see that it's mostly fresh faces, mostly rookies now dominating the grid, as the last of the old guard are reduced to only their thinnest of numbers, 5 in today's event. That would have otherwise been 6 had it not been for the scheduling issues for Cas van Velzen. Corbet is on his way back out. Now, this has been quite the showstopper. We could be seeing a 3rd new winner this season. It could very well bring us up to, and I'm just going to quickly run the numbers on this one because it's a statistic we always seem to blank every time it comes up. I'm pretty sure this would be looking at a 21st unique race winner. We'll double check that as we watch on here with Corbet in just a moment here as we go to catch on board with the number 2. That's one of the new drivers as well. Down towards the line, we'll have a look in with him in a moment's time from 22nd. Stays where he is across the line. So yes, this would be the possibility of race winner number 21, the most recent of which was Patrick Leger at Season 6 Round 7's feature race in Imola. So Italian racers have already proven to give us some brand new winners this season, albeit that was under the stipulations of red flag, but it really did seem he was only a corner away from that checkered flag. It could have been the worst time for a server shutdown. There's still a really, really unfortunately timed disconnect. But lo and behold, we still wrestle the shackles of G-Portal here in the modern day on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Not really much you can do in a situation like that. We are looking on the possibilities here. And I'm looking closer really at a three-way split. Leger, Anderson and Corbe. Who takes it home being the real question. Of course, there is still 3 opportunities to give us our 21st race winner of the NLRL Sunday League. The 21st unique name over the course of this championship. And what will be, by the end of this season, 75 races since the start of the NLRL Sunday League. And across the line then from Corbe. 147.571 to beat. It's his own personal and currently session best time, but he stays right where he is. The number 87 approaches the line. That'll be for Nick Lamming. And I believe, yes, he's across the line now. From 13th, stays right where he is. 4 minutes left to go. Nearest to the line, number 2. So we followed on with this one a moment ago, and this is another of the new drivers for this season. This is Patrick Capco in the number 2 Mustang, making his way from turn 11. He stands up and ahead of Path to Avedi, but out behind Cody Zarfel. Down in 22nd, across the line goes Capco, stays where he is for the time being. Of course, of all the new drivers so far, the one that has impressed us the most is Nathan Corbe in the number AAA X-Ray Motorsports Lamborghini. Currently the fastest in the session on debut to the Sunday League is 106,000 clear over Patrick Leger, the rookies champion for Season 6, and the rising star of the rookies division on the run up towards Season 7's full season drive with Lexus, Declan Anderson. Now having made a commitment to move away from Grand Prix racing and focusing his efforts now in GT, it has been quite the baptism by fire for Anderson in the last couple of weeks, but he seems to have found much more level ground than in his last attempts with Porsche and Ferrari in the form of Lexus. 3 minutes left to go. Right behind him there you can see one of the 5-star McLarens. I believe that is, yes, Ben Cheeseman in the 114. Across the line, Anderson in 3rd. Cheeseman stays where he is there in 7th. For Mac now up to 5th, I should point out, as Beefgartner drops to the back of the 3rd row. Carlos Dish is in interception range by Vermac, but it really does reside on whether or not the number 8 comes back out. And whilst we got the opportunity, we did actually get a statement from Tyler Vermac on the run-in towards today's round of the championship, because of course he won't be able to join us for an interview, and honouring that request to where he doesn't want to have he doesn't want to use his microphone on air. We'll respect that, and you see here the statement that he's given us. It's quite a lengthy one here, but it's quite inspiring words when we asked him about how he was sort of feeling off of the exit of this championship, and it's really quite a inspiring read here. I think one thing that really stuck with us was the line, "There will always be people who doubt you or say you can't do something, but don't let anyone else decide what you're capable of. The road won't be easy, but the journey, the lessons you learn, and the people you meet along the way are what matter the most." He says that he's been running the number 8 in inspiration to an athlete, Alicia Liu. He's been following her story, and it's the inspiration surrounding that, dealing with the pressures of the sport, that's inspired him to run that number 8. It is a very curious one and quite an interesting read. If you're watching on YouTube, you can pause and take a look back through that. It's a really quite inspiring stuff, and it's great to see that he's back on his feet. He's bounced back from what was quite a low at the end of Season 3, and he's been on such strong form this season. I think it was a case where he didn't want to be considered as part of the championship talks, because that would have worked sort of in retrograde to his ambitions. He didn't want to be considered as part of the championship fight because he would start believing that a little too intensely, and that would affect his performance. But, you know, this double bluff has certainly worked for the South African talent. He's dominated this season on what has been, by and large, his most dominant streak in the Sunday League. I mean, at one point there was 4 on the trot. Those are Milliston-level numbers we're talking here from Vermac, and this has been 3 seasons in the making for him. Right now, though, as we drop into the last couple of seconds of qualifying, Vermac stands only 5th in this session. The start of a new story ahead, with recent shifts there in the top 3 sees Corbe down from 1st to 3rd, Leger fastest, and now Anderson in 2nd. So the whole thing flipped on its head there just as we head up into the last wad of laps, and with enough time here for one more go around comes Nathan Corbe in the 888 car. from third, stays where he is there. He's just about half a tenth of a second from Declan Anderson in second. He's just under 2/10 from Patrick Leger. So in lieu of what we're seeing here with Vermaat, we are looking at a three-way shootout in the rookies from Leger, Anderson and Courbet. In the case of two of them, they are looking to be race winner number 21 in the NLRL Sunday League, but Leger, with a point to prove, of course, has been a dominant face of the Rookies Championship. Only missed out last week in race 1 of 2 in the sprint. As Carlos Deesh now goes to third by 5 thousandths away with just enough time for one more flyer, so he has the opportunity to put some stakes in the ground here and keep himself up in that top 3, but he is really going to have to get a shove on now in that Honda. It has been what we saw as well in Alton Park, a bit of a flaky ensemble, a difficult car to manage. And in his words, they just needed someone, I think it was the words, was someone stupid enough to drive it. Perhaps looking a little bit down on himself, but few have been able to do what he's been able to do here with Honda. It really is a bit of a blast from the past, because our last time seeing Honda perform this well was all the way back in some of our first ever broadcasts at TRTN over on the AXRL Southern Endurance Series, and it was for Kitsune Motorsports' Joshua Kaufman, also driving in the Honda NSX. That had a great wad of results, but I don't think we've seen anything quite like this from Deesh, let alone from Honda. Number 5, nearest to the line. So here comes Felix Schwab. Into the pit lane, though, aborting that last flying lap. He's content with 8th place on the 4th row for the race start. Nearest to the line from behind him there, Flavio Casanella from 20th. He's on the back end of the 10th row. Across the line he goes to an improvement, but stays right where he is. 888 nearest. Here comes Courbet. What is the returning tout here from the 888? Sadly, nothing, as he'll stay 4th place. No less, though, a brilliant qualifying performance. Number 8 from behind him. From Max into the pit lane, he'll settle for 5th. Courbet to 4th. By looks of it, Deesh holds 3rd, but he could aim even higher. We'll see it, though. It's down to the line. 147.4 dead to beat here from Patrick Leger. He peels into the pit lane. Anderson's withdrawn, so it leaves it only on the shoulders here of Carlos Deesh to try and challenge for that pole position. But the Honda withdraws. He's into the pit lane. The 599 follows him. It's going to be Leger on pole for all 3 races here of Season 6, Round 10 of the NLRL Sunday League. The last quali of Season 6 goes to its Rookies champion, Patrick Leger, on pole, 147.400. Anderson 2nd, Deesh 3rd, Courbet 4th, Vermaat rounds out the top 5, and all the way back to 7th there with Ben Cheeseman is within a second front to back at the end of this qualifying session. Super close stuff here. Definitely looking forward to things. Also, Rookies pole goes to Patrick Leger, so takes the cake and eats it too there in the number 9 Ford for 5 Star Esports. Brilliant, brilliant stuff as we head up in towards race 1 today. But before we do, having a glance at the regulations and also at an action-packed news segment coming up. Plenty to talk about today. It's been a very, very busy day in the world of motorsports. Taking a look at the regs, we're coming up into race 1 of 3. So 20 minutes against the clock. That'll be the story for all 3 endeavours here on Season 6, Round 10. As we head up in towards this race, a single mandatory pit stop on open strategy, so a minimum 3.2 second stop for fuel. And that could definitely spice things up over the course of today's event. With 3 minutes left to go before the formation lap, and just before our look at the grid itself, taking a look in towards the news and spoilers ahead for those who have not seen action from Formula 1, the BTCC or Formula E today. Without further ado, taking a look in towards our news segment. First off, Malaysia is set to host the 2026 Bahrain Grand Prix under the bizarre title of the 2026 Formula 1 Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix in Malaysia. This follows the continued conflict and very volatile state of events in the Middle East that has sadly withheld Bahrain from being able to host their GP this year. They'll move over to the Sepang circuit for the first time in nearly a decade. Elsewhere in the world of automotive news, then in the BTCC, Josh Cook, Ash Sutton and Tom Ingram win at the return to Thruxton after the summer break in the 2026 Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. Elsewhere in Formula 1, Lando Norris wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. The 2025 World Champion secures his first win of the 2026 season. Elsewhere in Formula E, Dan Ticktum, Nick de Vries, they win in the Tokyo E-Prix. And following on from that line of news here, taking a look in towards our next article of news, it is Formula E adjacent, as Porsche become the 2026 Formula E Manufacturers Champions. Last but not least then on our news segment is news from us here on TRTN as we've signed a new partnership with XCL Racing. As part of their massive restructuring efforts, TRTN will be joining as the official broadcast partner of XCL for the foreseeable future. More developments to follow in the coming weeks to coming months. With a minute and a half left to go before race 1 of 3 today, Patrick Leger is on pole position here in Monza. Declan Anderson in second with Carlos Disch in third, Nathan Corbet in fourth, and Tyler Vermack rounds out the top 5. Then further down the order to the back of the top 10, it's Beefgartner, Cheeseman, Schwab, Lopo and Kolarek. Marquez in 11th, Claffey in 12th, Thomas in 13th, Rivera in 14th, Lamming in 15th, Tate in 16th, and Martz in 17th. Another new driver here on the grid in the number 998 Bohemia Motorsports Ferrari. Luca Tamburini in 18th place with Ruben Pino. 19th, Flavio Casanella rounds out the top 20. Further down the line, then we get to see from Cody Zarfel in 21st, Patrick Kapko in 22nd, and Path to Evedi in 23rd. We are also joined there. You can see a second spectator. That is Ben Meredith, the representative of Euro Titans Endurance. We're hoping to get a word out from him a little later on about his team's successes here in the Sunday League, their second consecutive teams championship. We're 15 seconds out from getting on board to Patrick Leger's point of view for the formation lap for race 1 of 3 today. Conditions right now, 27 degrees on ambient, 33 on track, so quite toasty here in Monza. More on in that in just a moment.
30 seconds.
Now on board to Patrick Leger's. We'll go in a moment's time to discuss the overtaking opportunities available to us here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. This is going to be an action-packed round. Of course, the gloves are off. In the words of Patrick Leger, we are looking at fighting words here from the Dutchman. He will not be playing nice with anyone now, knowing his championship is secure, knowing all fronts of the championship, bar the manufacturers, are secure. This will be a very rowdy race to us tonight. About to pull away then with the number 9. Given the order to pull away now, looking here, 23 cars in attendance to today's event. That's 11 on one side, 12 on the other for the final 3 races. And the final round of the NLRL Sunday League Season 6, powered by TRTN. You can see a very brisk start here by Patrick Leger. Really got onto the boosters quickly in the number 9. Making our way up and around as it stands here. The Varianti Rettifilo, you can see he's holding his nerve. Now, there is definitely going to be that hold-up job by the rest of the field, trying to negate any kind of tyre heat from getting built up in that number 9. All of them are looking to have a stab there, especially the Japanese machines tucked in behind. The Gen 7 Mustang, Lexus RCF, and the Honda NSX looking to do battle with their rivals at Ford. Taking a look at overtaking opportunities, of course, it would be naive to not consider the Varianti Rettifilo as part of that mixture, but it is very difficult to find yourself in those given opportunities. Straight line speed will be a huge plus in today's event and could decide many an overtaking opportunity, as of course it rockets right out from turn 11 along that opening straight down towards turns 1 and 2. You really need to be right on top of your opponent to make it stick, but it's here where there's great opportunities for overtaking at the Varianti della Rogia. Everyone's slowed down out the Rettifilo, and then there's that sharp, well not sharp, but continuous right-hander at the Curva Grande, and that leads drivers in to being able to catch up down towards della Rogia, where we will see plenty more opportunities emerge for the run-up through to the Curva de Lesmo. As far as things stand then, the Curva de Lesmo is mostly follow-through areas of the track, but in a bunched-up scenario like the one we're going to see on 3 lap 1s over the course of all 3 races, there's definitely the opportunity for drivers to sneak their way on through. Out through the Curva de Lesmo, down the Curva de Seraglio. Now as we make our way in towards the Varianti Ascari. Now an exit from Ascari is paramount to get an overtake done in for the Varianti... not the Varianti, sorry, the Curva Parabolica, turn 11. We'll leave you on board with Leger. Just back to you in a moment. So still on board here with Patrick Leger as we head in through to the Varianti Ascari. Now, easy to misjudge this area of the track, and we've seen many an incident kick off in this area across multiple championships, including this one. So do keep a very close eye to that section, because if drivers start getting a little too handsy with those curbs, it is so easy to find yourself in the wall here, as you do carry the most amount of momentum out of any corner. And you try to use as little brakes as possible, so they are playing a massive game of chicken here with gravity and with the laws of physics. Making our way then to the Curva Parabolica. Now, this is quite a rife overtaking opportunity, but it's on the run out through this area where there is the opportunity for rebuttal from the recently overtaken driver in this scenario. As that opening straight will open things back up to those with a little bit more to talk about in the top end. Now, just before we get into the race, start taking a look at those straight line speeds. Ones to watch then: Ford, Ferrari, BMW, and Lexus up in the 175 to 174 territory. The Writer Engineering REX and the Aston Martin V12 Vantage are faster, but they aren't present on today's grid. Down towards the line we go then for race 1 of 3, about to get underway here on the NLRL Sunday League powered by TRTN. Race 1 is already ready to go. And green flags about to be shown to our drivers. 20 minutes against the clock. Round 10, I should say. Race 1 of Season 6 is officially underway. We're green and racing here in Monza for the first time of 3 today, and a brilliant start then from Patrick Leger, and even better start alongside him there by Declan Anderson. You can see him getting away at a rocket's pace there, side by side with the number 9. Behind them is Corbet and Deesh, nearly side by side, but it's Deesh that has the better run of the two on that second row. In towards the Varianti Retafilo we go, turns 1 and 2, and Anderson side by side with Leger. Anderson has the lead. Leger gets turned around by Deesh. Huge trouble then right off the bat, as we see there for Patrick Leger. Oh, even more trouble. He was spooned there from behind by the Honda. Nearly collects Richard Claffey. He collects that of Nick Lamming and Luca Tamburini. Oh my goodness, a horrific turn of events off the exit here. You can see the Honda scoops him up from behind. He gets spooned there on his diffuser by the Honda. Into the wall goes Patrick Leger, turned around, narrowly avoiding him there was both Rivera and Claffey. That could not have been said the same for, unfortunately so, for that of Nick Lamming. And that was absolute bedlam. We see here from Nick Lamming damage on the number 87. Gabriel Rivera a little bit shell-shocked, having dove all the way to the gravel to get out of the way of Leger. That has been a horror start for Patrick Leger. He lost the lead and then lost every position thereafter. Going to catch on board with Carlos Deesh. Up in front of him, Zolt Beefgartner sets his sights on Felix Schwab, who has had a miracle start for Keck Sim Racing with Ferrari. Taking a look from Tyler Vermack's point of view, he charges right onto the rear bumper of that Honda of Carlos Deesh. Greater exit of the two. He's in the slipstream for the run out of Ascari up towards the Curva Parabolica, but it's the number 28, Declan Anderson, who leads in Monza after a brisk start there by the Lexus, leading the charge. Out through turn 11 we go then. A very chaotic first lap to race 1 today. 2 minutes in, 18 to go. Still plenty more action yonder the horizon, but it has been a rough day to kick things off for Patrick Leger, down to 23rd as it stands, plumb last of the grid. Meanwhile, Rivera gets the leg on Lamming, now up and ahead, up into what looks to be their 21st place. Anderson leads from Corbet. Behind, that's trouble as Schwab collides with the 599, and it's even more trouble there, down through Retafilo again. Felix Schwab gets turned around in the utter chicanery going on down at turns 1 and 2. We only just caught on with the latter end of it. We see there, obstructed by the view of the leaderboards, was trouble for the 599. He collects there onto the number 5, who in turn gets turned around by the 54 as he has nowhere left to go. It has been serious trouble, and we said that the gloves would be off for tonight's round. I really didn't think it would be this much of a literal interpretation. It has not been a race so far. It has been a war here in Monza. Now maintaining stead of third. You can see a long line of cars snaking up from behind him there. That's Carlos Deesh in third for Honda. Tyler Vermack now up to fourth. Pedro Lopo in fifth. We see here David Kolarek with Bohemia now into 6th place. Zolt Beefgartner is in 7th. Ken Thomas 8th. Richard Claffey 9th. Daniel Marquez in the top 10. But leading that charge, Declan Anderson was denied the opportunity at the Red Bull Ring to become the 21st unique race winner in the NLRL Sunday League. And now the door has not been kicked open any wider for him. You can see here the number 28 holds the con on the lead. 1.9 seconds on Nathan Corbett, who also cites his chances to become that new race winner. Carlos Deesh looking to be the first Honda to take a win here in the Sunday League as he barrels down through turn 11. From behind him, Tyler Vermack in hot pursuit. Behind them, you can see a whole wad of cars here piling up through turn 11. Pedro Lopo under siege from Zolt Beefgartner. Talkline Motorsports, one of the newest entries to this list, we now see holds the ground up and away from Beefgartner, as joined by Kolarek and by looks of it, Luca Tamburini. They hold the ground to come into the pit lane. A very, very curious turn here in Monza Leaves Vermaak out by his lonesome. Same story for Lopo and Thomas. Now 5th and 6th on today's race. Daniel Marquez shifts up to 7th. Behind him, Richard Claffey and Ben Cheeseman. Rounding out the top 10, Cody Zarfel of Hurry Racing Ferrari. In terms of the nearest fights on track, it's really a pick your poison here. And now we see even more trouble. Turn around. That was Patrick Katko by Pathwavetti. Again, this is the 3rd time this has happened now. Down at the Variante Rettifilo, drivers just simply can't stop getting pit maneuvered. I mean, this has quickly stepped away from being GT3 racing. This has more been a police training montage now. The amount of pit maneuvers, these drivers have got a shining career in your local highway patrol, but this has definitely been a questionable day for many. Pedro Lopo holds his ground from the top 5. He's division 3rd for the rookies, holding off Ken Thomas, Daniel Marquez, Richard Claffey and Ben Cheeseman in a super tight grid here for the run up towards the back of the top 10. Cody Zarfel's out by 2.7 seconds. We see Cheeseman going for the inside on Claffey. Can he have it at Ascari? He's had a very solid leap in through there. Now out through turn 10 on the run up towards turn 11. Solid exit by both, but it's Cheeseman that holds the ground up in the lead of that fight. Richard Claffey looking for counter-attack. We know the Porsche is very, very strong under the brakes. We saw that demonstrated a few seasons ago by Cas van Velten in his time spent with Porsche. He was an absolute menace on that track. He was last of the late breakers in every scenario, and he gained wads of positions for it. Cheeseman dives to the pit lane as Claffey returns to 8th. Daniel Marquez sets his sights on Ken Thomas and Pedro Lopo. It's a 3-way split for the last of the top 5s here. Lopo tries to defend, but from the outside, they're last of the late breakers. Contact between the 2 Ferraris. Marquez collides with Thomas at Rettifilo. It has been a battleground of epic proportion at turns 1 and 2. Was there even the anticipation of brakes there by Marquez? We see getting onto the brakes. Now that looked pretty late, I'd say, from these two. I'm not quite sure what the strategy was there for Marquez. That, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but if that's not brake failure, I don't know what it is. That's disaster. Utter disaster there, but what it has shaken the foundations of is Ken Thomas's control of the top 5 as he gets up and ahead of Pedro Lopo up in front. The ongoing fight for 3rd rages on. Meanwhile, battle of the Porsches. Lopo v Claffey. Richard Claffey has had a bit of an oddball start to racing here. He had to dive to the gravel to avoid a careening Patrick Leger. Right now, stands up in the top 10, toe-to-toe with contemporaries in the top 10. I thought we saw an accident in the background there off of Lesmo too. We see now going for the inside, or at least attempted to go for the inside there was Daniel Marquez. But he has got severe damage on his nose there. I'm not sure how effective things are going to be in the near future for that Ferrari. Right now, the battle of the Porsches rages on from 6th. We see here developments for the fight on 3rd. As it is worth noting, we've got an information to hand there from the lead. Anderson has grown the gap from Corbett by 2.6 seconds. Vermaak now closing in on Carlos Disch. Now, of all the cars we were able to gauge here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, one that dodges our radar for lack of presence on the field is Honda. So this is going to be a rather curious one. We see already that Honda definitely has quite a bit of pace to talk about. Vermaak tries to go from the outside at turn 1 to put himself to the inside at turn 2. Fails to do so there. As now into the pits comes 2 more drivers. Cody Zarfel and Caleb Tate. Joining them from behind is Pathwavetti in the 56 car. And it has been a very rough start to things here in Monza, but one that has been incredibly eventful. And taking a look further down the line, Marquez versus Claffey versus Lopo. That's your current big 3 fight there for 6th place. That's Division 4th for the rookies behind Thomas, Corbet and Anderson. You see there, big step for Pedro Lopo. That Porsche remarkably unstable on the curbs through the Variante della Roggia. Richard Claffey tried to sneak his way on the inside but was covered off. Claffey now with Marquez right up his rear end. He doesn't want that Ferrari any closer after the incident that he bared witness to up in front when it was Lopo, Thomas and Marquez in towards turns 1 and 2. Claffey now steps into the middle of it all. A stop-go issued for Pathwavetti speeding in the pit lane. So much going on in so little time here in race 1. We've seen some very, very close ends to racing under the pit lane runs for these drivers. Of course, our last visit to these regs was back in Barcelona where Leger and Vermaak went toe-to-toe. It was such a knife-edge walk in the pit lane for these two. They had such a well-met strategy to one another. It was anyone's game up in the air, but ultimately Vermaak claimed on the majority of those victories. Down to the line then, Carlos Dish. And we were very curious to question what was the motives behind this move. We've still yet to get a word out of him, but we'll hope to find one during the off-season on if he's choosing to stay with Honda. It was such a bizarre decision to make. Of course, Audi had yielded some early successes this season for Dish, but not much else past the midway, especially when weight started to become a major consideration under the success ballast. The Audi was flaking out more often than not. I think the real nail in the coffin, so to speak, was his performance in Bathurst, where he just couldn't get to grips with that Audi, and it was a really troubled drive for the Swiss talent. But I think this new drive of Honda could yield some positive results here. It is certainly an oddball decision. Like the Lexus RCF, it's often picked out by drivers who are quite well in tune with BOP changes, and we'll have more to speak on the updates to BOP coming into next season. Plenty more to discuss later down the line, so do look forward to that one. I am told, sadly, we won't be getting a word from Race Control today, so we'll have to relay their word forward after today's triple header of races. Into the pit lane a moment ago went Richard Claffey. You see him emerging in there behind, I believe, yes, that is Kolarik. Still 2 more laps for Twivetti to serve. Otherwise, it will be sizable penalties on the way for him, of one of the closest fights on track at the moment we've been spectating in with here, watching on board with Tyler Vermaak versus Carlos Dish. We're on board to the number 8 of your Season 6 Drivers' Champion, Tyler Vermaak, fighting for 3rd place with Honda's Carlos Dish. He tries to go for the inside. It was very ambitious. I'm not sure if he ever knew that one was going to stick, but it does. Albeit with quite a fair deal of contact as the Honda gets muscled out wide. You can see him giving him the lights there. Will Vermaak give the position back? Is he inclined to, being the real question? As we head down the opening straight, you can see the Honda is beelining it on him now. Closing in, slowly but surely. See, very late on the brakes there. Dish is trying to make things a lot more aggressive. He's under the mindset now, well, you can give it out. You can certainly take a punishment as well. And the justice could very well be in his hands as opposed to Race Control's, but I imagine in the view of Race Control, they won't be particularly happy to see this possible vigilantism coming from Carlos Dish. We see, though, he's racing hard, but he's racing fair, as he really tries to get some pressure onto Vermaak on the run-up through to De La Rogia. We can see lay on the brakes there. Denied him any space. Where was the Honda expected to go? I'm sure that will be the questioning asked by Carlos Dish. Again, giving him the lights. He is not happy whatsoever. If that bit of argy-bargy down at turn 11 wasn't enough to frustrate the Swiss talent, that certainly was. On the run through the Curva de Lesmo, Vermaak, as it would appear, quite literally throwing his weight around as one of the heaviest cars on the grid. A staggering 39 kilo ballast. He's, after changes to BOP, about 32 kilos heavier than factory. So that is quite a cumbersome McLaren we're looking at here by comparison to Honda, that lose 19 kilos for today's round. 7.5 minutes left to go, so we're past the halfway mark quite certainly on today's race. And taking a look, Declan Anderson leads by 3.1 seconds. This could be the Hail Mary solution for Declan Anderson. He has been feverishly searching since the Red Bull Ring to find himself atop the charts at the end of this race, and he may very well have the chance, but bear in mind there is still that looming threat of the pit lane. He has to come in at some point in the next 7 minutes. Nathan Corbet in 2nd, Tyler Vermaak in 3rd, Carlos Dish in 4th, Pedro Lopo in 5th, and Daniel Marquez in 6th. We'll see what changes come their way, as it looks like motioning to the pit lane. Yes, goes Lopo, and following him is Daniel Marquez. From behind them, Felix Schwab. Right behind him there, that's Patrick Leger, if I'm not mistaken. Schwab dives to the pit lane. Casanella would be next on consideration in 8th place at this time. Then Gabriel Rivera of Aston Martin. And Casanella stays out. What's the call for Rivera? He played things very sensibly at the Red Bull Ring, had some solid results on the table. Now in his 2nd race of his Sunday League career, Rivera with Aston Martin stays out long. 6.5 minutes left to go, and this could be a very curious end to race 1. We see some very close action here. Ken Thomas versus David Kolarik. 2 new drivers for this round of the championship. One that we're very familiar with, having seen his exploits over on Fats GT. Ken Thomas more than capable with Ferrari, but it's been a rough start to things here in Monza. There's 2 more races to follow, but again, it's the double-edged sword of whether or not are you going to get a more civilized race or one far less civilized, with drivers now understanding where they can push the envelope out to. It's often the case when we encounter these style of races where are we going to get cleaner racing in race 2, or is it going to be quite literally the opposite of that? Only time will reveal us the answers, with just under 6 minutes left to go before the end of race 1, which could very likely see Declan Anderson to the 21st unique race-winning name in the NLRL Sunday League, and for his first ever outright victory. He claimed on his first rookies at the Red Bull Ring, and we see here from Anderson, in he goes. Number 28, 5-Star Esports, Lexus, now in. It's worth noting then that, of course, after last race, Anderson was signed to the 5-Star Esports team. You can see from behind him, Nathan Corbet now swamped in by Tyler Vermaak and Carlos Dish. In a surprise turn of events, Vermaak now takes second. Corbet's washed down to third and could lose that to Carlos Dish as well on the run-up towards turns 1 and 2. Very recent developments here from the Triple Eight, who had such a promising run in quali. Now looks to be swamped out of that top 3 by 2 very experienced names on this grid. Vermaak holds his ground of second. Dish still tries to claw away on Nathan Corbet's Triple Eight car as we head up through the Curva Grande. Looking here then with Dish in his efforts to pounce on Corbet for third place here. The Honda tries to go back onto the racing line. The Lamborghini holds the inside line. Super late on the brakes by Corbet, and he holds that for just the time being. Great run for the Triple Eight. Doing the best he can here, trying to throw the kitchen sink into keeping the Honda off his tail. Try as you may, there are very few drivers that you can coerce out of that pursuing position here. Carlos Dish has had an iron will for the majority of this season. The only thing that's been letting him down was his machine, the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2. His teammate Fate Galaxy made the transfer several rounds before and immediately resulted in victory in Bathurst, conquering the mountain after a season's worth of doubt. Since his time so close yet so far away following the disaster in race 2, season 5 round 4 of the NLRL Sunday League, and our last visit to the land down under. See now that it's all come full circle for these two, who made their debut on the same round, competed for the same teams. 5-star then, Euro Titans. Now the era of the Audi is extinct for these two drivers, for both Fate Galaxy and Carlos Dish. But that is not to say Audi is fully off the grid. Into the pits there goes Corbet. Just to quickly point out, Audi is not fully off the grid, with Caleb Tate, one of the latest attendees here to the Audi lineup. Now taking a look here on an ongoing battle, Richard Claffey versus Pedro Lopo. The battle on the Porsches kicks off again, and they are both hounding position away from Felix Schwab. A stop-go 10-second penalty for the number 5. 3 minutes left to go, so it looks to be the case from most parties that it is going to be an ultra-aggressive strategy coming up from Vermaak and Dish, trying to go absolutely to the last possible stage of it today. Patrick Leger holds the fastest lap at the moment. He's up and ahead of that of Patrick Capco in the number 2, and he's in behind Nick Lamming. That was quite a bit of trouble for him, though, on that race start. Was scooped up from behind by the Honda and sent into the Armcos. A very rough turn for him. Claffey continues to hound Schwab for position. Meanwhile, Casanella's in. As for Declan Anderson, he's up and ahead here of Nathan Corbet. You see there, that was a bit of wobble on exit for, I want to say that, yes, that was Ben Cheeseman. Corbet trying to get out past the Lexus here. That's, if I'm not mistaken, Zolt Beefgartner in the 599. He's done well to turn things back around in today's event. It was a bit of a rocky start for him, but he looks to fight for a top 5. Certainly has the strategy to support it. Way from the outside there. Great run through De La Rosia, but this could still see another wad of action for the run-up through the Curva de Lesmo in this recent saga for a fight of 5th between Nathan Corbet and Zolt Beefgartner. A great little exchange between these two. Super, super close fighting. It's what you want to see here on a track like Monza. Meanwhile, out back, the Claffey v Schwab fight still rages on during this time. The question that befalls everyone's mind, what is the strategy here? And we do start to see it materialise. Into the pit lane goes the number 8 and the 54. So the red carpet is rolling out for Declan Anderson as we loom onto the final lap. This has got to be absolutely frame perfect from these two if they dare hope to hold leading positions in race 1, because Declan Anderson is only a corner away. It couldn't come any sooner for him. The latest signee to 5-Star Esports' ACC lineup. is looking at his first ever Sunday League win, but he's going to have to fight with both of these two to secure it as they make their way to the exit of the pits. We hear that 5.4 litre rumble on by. There goes the Lexus, as now released from the pits comes Tyler Vermack and Carlos Dietsch, let loose like the hounds of war onto that 28 Lexus. They emerge, by looks of it, a hair's width ahead of these two, Nathan Corbet and Zolt Beefgartner, who are right neck and neck on the run up towards turn 1 and 2. Super light on the brakes. You can see the Lexus fidgeting there, struggling under its own weight, but gets the switch back on the Lamborghini. A great run by Zolt Beefgartner off of Rettifilo, but the Lamborghini still to the inside, denies him the opportunity to go back onto the racing line until now. Number 5 still has to serve that stop-go, but with 30 seconds to the line, we are looking at the possibility of a brand new race winner, and our 3rd this season, our 21st in the series' history. But watching on from behind, not to overshadow it, is this extraordinary fight between Corbet and Beefgartner. Head-to-head there, that was absolute cinema. Watching in as well, Luca Tamburini's got his hands full here. You can see he's parked right up the back end of, I believe that's Daniel Marquez. So, from 2 separate distances of the grid, there is still a tremendous fight to be had. Let's go to Catch on board, though, with that leading Lexus. Only a moment away, then, from a possible victory today. Has to conquer just one more corner. Don't get any more possibilities of penalty for Declan Anderson. As from behind him, Corbet and Beefgartner, they're in the gravel. So a sudden turn of events. Through goes Cheeseman into the top 5. Oh, my word. Down to the line, though, from turn 11. He's waited long enough for this one. And your unique race winner, number 21, on his first in Sunday League history, down towards the line. Declan Anderson wins in Monza.
The leader has finished the race.
An extraordinary result here from one of the latest signees to 5-star. Declan Anderson found his Goldilocks zone with Lexus. The Porsche was too hot. The Ferrari was too cold. The Lexus was just right. And ever more, now that he takes his first outright win of the season, your 21st unique race winner in Sunday League history. Down to the line from behind them then, Tyler Vermack to 2nd, Carlos Dietsch to 3rd, Ben Cheeseman to 4th, Zolt Beefgartner rounds out the top 5, Nathan Corbet in 6th. We see David Kolaric in 7th, Richard Claffey in 8th, Pedro Lopo 9th, Ken Thomas in 10th, Caleb Tate in 11th, right behind him, Felix Schwab with a 40-second penalty, Daniel Marquez in 13th, Cody Zarfel being intercepted here by Gabriel Rivera. This could be down to the line. V6 versus V8, who comes out on top? It looks to be Zarfel. Right onto him though, right at the line here. This could still change, no, by 32 thousandths over Rivera. That was absolutely biblical. Zarfel to 14th, Rivera to 15th, Casanella to 16th, Lamming to a troubled 17th. That's the same story for Leger, who's looking at 18th. Capco looks at 19th, Pino at 20th, Dwevetti secures 21st, Tamburini looking at 22nd. A troubled start to this triple header, but one that has given joy and jubilation to this Lexus right here. The number 28 of Declan Anderson, your race 1 winner, and your 21st unique driver to take a race win in the NLRL Sunday League. And if memory serves rightly, the first Lexus to do so since Michael Harris last season at the Donington Park circuit. That's the 3rd ever driver to win with a Lexus, besides Harris and Jason Bush, the Season 2 Sunday League champion. Across the line a moment ago, then we see confirmation of 18th for Leger, Capco for 19th, Pino for 20th. We see here for a driver seldom seen on today's grid, but one that's still signed up nonetheless, Jan Martz in the 998 of Bohemia. As it would appear, looks to be a DNF as he's not yet crossed the line. He's a lap down. We'll see what the final result gives us as we do wait then for the end of session marker. Your outright and rookies win then goes to Declan Anderson. Tyler Vermack 2nd. Carlos Dietsch puts Honda on a podium for 3rd. Cheeseman with that miraculous double overtake there, thread the eye of a needle between the fight of Corbet and Beefgartner to take a top 4 result. It's a 5-star triple top 5 and a 1-2 for the 5-star esports team between Anderson and Vermack. Brilliant, brilliant stuff we're seeing here. Now, it's been very clear to see the commitment has been pushed forward for 5-star's pursuit of a team's championship, and this is the kindling that starts that fire today here in Monza. As the checkered flag descends, then we wait for the end of the session as we are about to head up in towards race 2 today. And there we have it. The end of the session marker now fulfilled. Anderson wins in race 1. Vermaak second, Deesh third, Cheeseman fourth, Beefgartner in fifth, Corbet in sixth, Kalaric in seventh, Claffey eighth, Lopo in ninth, and Thomas rounds out the top 10. Then from 11th to 20th, Tate, Marquez, Zarfel, Rivera, Casanella, Lamming, Schwab, Leger, Capco, and Pino. Martin 21st, Duavelli 22nd, Tamburini 23rd. Coming up in a moment's time then as we take a look back in towards the regs. Race 2, just around the corner. Another 20 minutes of action here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Our second of 3 stops here in the final round of the championship. Coming up after will be the discussion surrounding Season 7's regs. Plenty to talk about there. And we'll also be catching on, hopefully, with not only the representative of the team's champions. We are still hoping to hear from Ben Meredith later on today to speak about Euro Titans' success. That was the one we couldn't get a word out of in the last round just gone. And we'll also be taking a look at the Season 7 calendar reveal. We'll be hoping to be joined by the drivers and rookies champions, Tyler Vermaak and Patrick Leger. Away from race 1 then, into race 2 we go, and the same grid as always, decided by that qualifying session. So ones to watch over the course of this race, Declan Anderson and Patrick Leger. I didn't think we got to see too much of Leger over the course of this race. He was taken out so early, but had that fastest lap. It was very indicative. He had the pace. He just didn't have the luck in through turns 1 and 2. Those two will be ones to watch. Definitely worth keeping an eye out for Nathan Corbet. That was some phenomenal fighting we saw, albeit ended sour down at Ascari between himself and Zot Beefgartner. Another one to watch. Really, the whole of that top 10 is worth keeping an eye on. But I'd also like to point out as well, further down the line, we saw some great fighting from Claffey and Thomas, and a little bit of fighting there from Rivera. All things to consider, though, on the run in towards race 2 of 3. And so we'll be on with Patrick Leger for the formation lap in a moment's time, just about 2 minutes before the start of formation lap number 2 today. We'll be back to you in just a moment's time. So back on with the grid, just about a minute to go, 30 seconds before we catch on board to the number 9, who sadly denied the opportunity to fight for a possible race win today, but he's got 2 more races to play for from pole position. So here's hoping for Patrick Leger. For Declan Anderson, he's high off the hopes there, generated from race 1, his first ever race win outright in Sunday League history, the 21st driver to do so. And that follows right off the weekend, just last weekend gone, where he took his first ever rookies division win with Lexus. So really, the sky's the limit for that number 28. It's going to be a very lively start coming up ahead of us here for race 2. On board to Leger.
30 seconds.
30-second warning given to the grid. 22 in attendance this time around, 11 on either side of which we lost a few on the run out of race 1. Starting down in the 27th and 28th grid slot is Luca Tamburini and Jan Martz from Bohemia Motorsports, one of several new drivers to today's grid. As we head up into race 2 in a moment's time, about to pull away then goes the number 9. It was a very brisk start in the last formation lap from this one here, Patrick Leger. So as we watch on with the Dutchman, it's a bit of a softer start now from Leger as he pulls away on the grid. It is going to be a very troubled road ahead of him here. There is going to be a lot of the fear still lingering in the back of his mind on how do I try to survive turn 1. The reality of it was there was not a great deal he could actually do on the run down through the Variante Rettifilo. Once you're collected on another car's nose, you're a passenger in most instances there. It was very difficult for him to recover. He got back up and going, but was immediately speared from behind by the Honda that had gone up into him there. Didn't realise he was going that slow. Scooped him up from behind and put him in the Armcos. It was not an easy position for him to sit in there because a lot of that wasn't necessarily on him. He was a double victim in that sense, and he came careening across the track, was collected by, I believe it was Nick Lamming in that opening incident here at the Curva Grande. It was a very, very tough start to this triple header for the final round of the championship, but race 2 could set to rights here the many wrongs he suffered. Taking a look around the field then at some of the other drivers to keep an eye for here. Declan Anderson, definitely one on the cards. Following his first outright win and the week before his first rookies win, there is a lot of momentum travelling behind this number 28 for the run-in towards this round and race particular now. As we head up through to the Variante della Roggia. Carlos Diesch, though, is still a curious one to me because the Honda certainly has the potential. We saw the first sprinklings of that in Alton Park when he drove it for the first time earlier this week on OLRX VSR's midweek championship. On a track like Monza, though, it's very difficult to gauge if a vehicle is the right choice. Now, of course, he could have very easily dropped the Audi for the Reiter, knowing this was the last round of the championship, the last and only chance he would have to use it. As we head up through to race 2, he's played things rather smart because he's doing his homework. He's already field testing this Honda, trying to see sort of where is the line drawn for this machine, whereabouts can I push it on a track where I am at my most vulnerable aero-wise, and from that point he can start to build a bit more of a baseline out of everything. We'll leave you on board with the Honda for just a moment and we'll be back to you in a second. So as we continue to follow on board then with Carlos Diesch, we are but moments away from the start of race 2 today. Going to catch back on board then with the leading Mustang of Patrick Leger. We have got information surrounding Cody Zarfel. A sudden disconnect, then reconnect with a 547. He'll start from the pit lane. As it stands to be the case then, taking a look at the drivers so far. And if we are to believe there are still 2 spectators, ourselves and Euro Titans Endurance's Ben Meredith, the head of operations for their ACC console division, one we spoke with last season to recount their progress of their first of what is now 2 consecutive teams championships. We'll hope to get a word from him later on. Currently then, 23 cars in attendance, 1 for the pit lane and 22 on track, 11 on either side of which on the run in towards race 2 today. 20 minutes on the clock. And are we about to see a revenge drive here from Leger after being vanquished in race 1? Will he be fooled again here at the home of the Italian Grand Prix? The Temple of Speed gives us rise to another 20 minutes of racing here on race 2. We're not quite done yet, though, because race 3 is just around the corner. Without further ado, though, for race 2 of Season 6, Round 10, we are green and racing here in Monza, and another brisk start from both of the leading rows, but an even better start than the last one for the Honda of Carlos Diesch. Looks to thread the eye of a needle here going in between Anderson and Leger, but gets swamped out by the 2 extra cylinders of the V8s up in front of him as they barrel 2 wide down through to turn 1 and 2 here at the Variante Rettifilo. Great start from both Anderson and Leger. A little bit of argy-bargy down through Rettifilo, but holding his ground goes that of Declan Anderson. Takes an early lead up over that of Patrick Leger. There's quite a lot of dust in the background, but look like for the most part a bit more of a civilized start to things. Anderson leads over Leger, Diesch in third, right behind him Nathan Corbet in fourth. Riding out the top 5 there is Tyler Vermack in the number 8 McLaren. Down through to Della Roggia. This is the combat zone. Now we see super late on the brakes there by Corbet. Tries to get the jump on Leger. We see a bit of a disconnect trouble there for what looks to be that of Felix Schwab. His car's blipping in and out of control. That's going to be trouble for Ben Cheeseman to get up past him, but a very solid start to Anderson. Put to bed any naysayers that said he only got that win because Leger wasn't there. He's just proven here and now that's not the case. Out through the Curva de Lesmo and then to the Curva de Saraglio. A very solid start, all things considered. 5-star lead the fray, 1 and 2 through 2 of their latest signings, Declan Anderson and Patrick Leger. Nathan Corbet makes 3rd place at the moment, ahead of Tyler Vermack. We see fallen down to 6th place was the Honda of Carlos D. Zolt Beefgartner's up into the top 5 now. On what is a very... Oh, my word. What's going on down here? That's surely got to be a red flag. Yellows all the way down the Saraglio. What has happened? Multiple wipeouts here. I believe we can maybe catch a look at that on the replays. Now, if that were a real race, folks, that would 100 million% be a red flag. But I think, by the looks of it, the show will go on. Much to the behest of multiple casualties there. You can see them start to roll in, and among them looks to be that 599. I don't know necessarily was he in, I don't think he was involved at all. No damage there, so he's in early. You can see in the background, that is one of the casualties way down the order. That's Pedro Lopo. Following him, Richard Claffey and Luca Tamburini. 3 squandered Porsches right in between them, though. You can see there's Caleb Tate in the number 90. That Audi has seen much better days. What on earth happened at the curb of the Saraglio? I have never seen a busier pit lane here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cars in the pit lane, 2 of which racing each other on the way out. Zolt Beefgartner and Ben Cheeseman are side by side off the exit of the pit lane. What has happened here in Monza? I simply cannot put pen to paper on what I've just seen. 3 Ferraris fight with McLaren for 7th. Ken Thomas versus Jan Martz versus Ruben Pino, all of which fighting for 7th up in front of them of a wounded Flavio Casanella. And I will say this has been a certain breath of fresh air for Jan Martz, because he's up into that top 10 over what I can only describe as a force of God having played its hand down the Saraglio to take so many cars out of commission there. You can start to see the casualty numbers to Ivedi, Marquez, Schwab, Lamming, Tamburini. We saw Claffey and Lopo in there, as well as Caleb Tate. And we'll let you know when we're done collecting our jaw from the ground here. I mean, I am so baffled as to what on earth I've seen there. Jan Martz now leads the charge over Ken Thomas, who went out wide at Ascari, could lose the ground to Pino. That he does on the run through the curve of Parabolica, but he can have that right back there as out wide. Red Ruben Pino, Flavio Casanella loses ground to that of Jan Martz, who immediately dives to the pit lane. Smart decision by Bohemia to try and put distance between themselves and the rest of the grid. They want clean road for the rest of this race. The first 5 minutes have followed up on what I can only describe to you as a natural disaster here at the home of the Italian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Leger pursues Anderson. Let's go to catch on board then with Leger, as there is more trouble, I am told. Another yellow flag is out, and we get a look on board here to see with the number 2. Sadly, we can't make out much of what's going on, so we're going to try and get a look on board with the 813 car. As it looks to be the 77, that's Flavio Casanella that's in trouble. Let's have a look here from Luca Tamburini. There you can see him, he's in the wall. Oh my word, that is a sorry state of affairs there for Casanella. There's not much left to recover car-wise. That's a horror show we've just seen there, folks. Back on board to Patrick Leger, and this is definitely shaping up to be one of the most infamous rounds of the Sunday League. And Anderson's out wide. He's in the wall just as we pick up there. How many more times is this going to happen? I am at a complete loss. It's disaster after disaster after disaster after disaster here in Monza. When does it end? Slipping up over Ascari. Last round, or last race's race winner here in round 6 is into the wall, and Leger retakes the lead. It doesn't get much worse than this for some, does it? It can't keep going on like this. I assure you, as I said back in Season 5, Round 4, at the disastrous start to racing in Bathurst, it can. And as it stands to be the case, it certainly will. Capco v Rivera. New fight on the cards here for 8th place. Declan Anderson's into the pit lane. Rather unsurprisingly so. And you can see the state of disrepair following that huge clatter to the wall off of Ascari on that Lexus. This does give a little bit of extra credence here to Carlos D. She was swamped in on the race start for race 2. And after 7 minutes in, back into the top 5. He's got strategic eye on the rest of that field. It's also been a very solid outing here for that of, looking here, David Kolarik in the number 32. Bohemia Motorsports, number 32 car, is up in that top 5 at the moment. So too is another new team, X-Ray Motorsports, courtesy of Nathan Corbet, who is, I should say, less than 1.5 seconds from the race lead. That's nearly the same story for that of Tyler Vermackey's 1.7 seconds from Corbet at this time. Anderson in the pit lane. It's going to be a lengthy stop for him. We see the developments of this latest fight then. Rivera v Capco. And we see trouble at De La Rosia. And that kicks the door wide open for the Aston Martin to waltz on through to 7th. And there goes Rivera. Now 7th place. We see this armada of vehicles now in the pit lane. There's so many anticipated DNFs now. I am just a complete loss for words there. I don't necessarily know what started that incident down at the Curva de Saraglio, but we caught on exactly where it ended, and it's with multiple drivers out of commission. Had that been a real race, I'd have no doubt in my mind that had been a red flag. That would have been the race done. We'd have to wait for race 3 later on, or go racing again for race 2 right about now, because that was diabolical. Now, not the biggest pileup we've ever seen. That still goes to Season 5, Round 4 at Turn 1 in Bathurst. I don't think that one's getting defeated anytime soon, but that was a big pileup. And the scarier part about it, unlike Bathurst Turn 1, that's at about 3 to 4 times the speed as we're coming out of the Saraglio in towards Ascari. You've got to consider that. We're well north of 120, 130 miles an hour before we get onto the brakes there. That's a very scary thing to tackle with. Into the pits comes Capco. Patrick Capco, number 2, was fighting a moment ago with Gabriel Rivera. As far as things go, it has tapered a lot of fights out today. We see Anderson is now fighting with Richard Claffey for 13th place. That's soon to be a possibility of a 12th place fight, depending on how long things take here for Capco. It's quite a brisk stop. We see joining him in the pit lane is Path with Eddie. You see in the background there, the silver and green, number 56, now in from 19th. This was the fear met by many, and it's the same thing we've been talking about when we have multiple races on the same race weekend, is are we going to see more civility in the latter races, or are we going to see far more ferocity? Because there is that sort of vacuum of confidence from these drivers if they're still new to the track, which I highly doubt many are, but not often is it the case when we have a grid this size racing at Monza in GT3. And with how easy it is to make a mistake at this track, despite its simplistic nature, the drivers now feel like they're a little bit more sharpened up after race 1. They've got a feel for the conditions. They've got a feel for how the car behaves under load. Coming up into that race, they're throwing their weight around a lot more, and that's where we end up with incidents like that, with multiple car pileups. We see here, intercepting Richard Claffey. You can see just the stark difference in straight line ability for the Lexus RCF, one of the fastest on the block in the Sunday League. Goes toe-to-toe with one of the sharpest stoppers, that being the Porsche 911 992. I think that was a little bit of a bump there off exit of turn 2 there. Otherwise, Anderson up to 13th. Flavio Casanella more than definitely looks to be out of this race, and that seems to be the same sentiment carried by Thomas, Schwab and Zarfel. Daniel Marquez, I am told, though, is back out on track, so of the cars to have been wiped out very early on at Saraglio, this one yet remains. When I say that, it's been a bit of a rocky run for things as we just now crest the halfway on race 2. That has really put me quite in a state of shell shock. I can only imagine what it's gone on for some of the drivers to have actually missed out on that incident. Now, it was a fair deal down the order. I can only imagine for the driver who got that in their rear view mirror. I mean, sometimes it's best not to think about the size of the bullet you dodged, just the fact that you dodged it, but that's less a bullet, more an artillery shell one would have dodged to be just up and ahead of that collision. So as it stands, Patrick Leger leads over Nathan Corbet, Tyler Vermack in 3rd, David Kolarek in 4th, Carlos Dish rounds out the top 5, Ruben Pino in 6th, with Gabriel Rivera in 7th, then Beef Garner, Cheeseman and Martz in 10th. Jan Martz, this could be a curious one here. We spoke about Bohemia a few times here, and it's both Kolarek and Martz that are in the top 10 for Bohemia Motorsports, one of the newest teams on the block alongside X-Ray. And this could be a promising sign for the run-up in towards Season 7. We do hope to see these drivers again, as they have made quite the impression already. So trying to hold off what I believe, yes, that is Flavio Casanella back out on track. That is a surprise. We only got a glimpse of what his car was looking like after that major incident on the opening straight. There wasn't much of McLaren left to find, so I suppose any kind of in-universe explanation is he's found another one sitting in the back. Sort of like how they used to change across bikes or change across cars in Formula E and MotoGP respectively. Carlos Dish is now in, so too is Ruben Pino. That leaves Kalaric, Vermac, Courbet and Leger out by their lonesome. You can see these three currently intercepting traffic. Path to Avedi between first and second at this time. Vermac's got clear line of sight though on Nathan Courbet. 1.5 seconds to clear. But you must consider he is weighing in an extra 32 or so kilos under BOP changes and success ballast. They are playing a bit of a double-pronged assault here on the ability of that McLaren. Now, he had a very solid run of things, got all the way up to second place. He has fought with Courbet already, so there's nothing to say he can't do it again. And might I remind, it was in the last couple of minutes of race one where he got the leap on Courbet, as we saw there. Path to Avedi, tried to let him on through, but was way too late to do so. Courbet had to cut Ascari. That's kicked the door open for Tyler Vermac, who now emerges from behind Path to Avedi. There was the intention there by Dwevedi to move over, but he did it way too late. He already saw there that Courbet was heading up towards him. He had him in his rearview mirror all through that lap. A thinking man would have stopped on the start of the Saraglio, but he's trying to keep things as lively as possible from 17th. This has kicked the door open massively, though, for this fight with Vermac versus Courbet. Behind them is that of, looking here, that is Declan Anderson fighting along with them. And it's been a very, very tough pill to swallow there after his troubles on race 2, following such highs at race 1. This was not the direction he wanted things to go in, not at all, of course. He has to play with what he's dealt. Anderson holding on from 13th. He's actually in behind on the leaderboards here. A fight between Capco and Tate, 2 new drivers for this season. One of which debuting tonight, that being Patrick Capco in the number 2. There are plenty of fights going on at the same time as one another. Jan Martz versus Ruben Pino. Patrick Capco versus Caleb Tate. As we see here at the head of the field, Nathan Courbet versus Tyler Vermac here at the Curva de Lesmo. Turn 6 in through to turn 7 on race 2. Still plenty to talk about. So let's go to catch on board with some of the fights going on around the track. Martz versus Pino. Now, this is an equal stead fight. 2 Ferraris head-to-head, so neither one of them will hold advantage on paper on the straights. But you'll see from Jan Martz being in the slipstream is going to do him wonders to stay with Ruben Pino, if not attempt to intercept along the opening straight. We'll catch on just a little bit longer here to see with these two as they barrel up through towards turn 1 and 2. Late on the brakes there for Jan Martz. He's forced to run wide. He's going to lose a little bit of time off to Ruben Pino off the exit of Rettifilo behind them. Flavio Casanella. You see from Martz's point of view now, he's actually got quite a solid exit of things. Giving him the lights. He's trying to get inside Ruben's head and just sort of chip away at his confidence here. You see holding centre mass of the road. He's trying to deny space, but going for it. Jan Martz tried. Does he succeed, though, being the question? Sadly, not on this attempt. Collects a little bit of gravel for his efforts and is starting to hemorrhage distance. Let's go to catch on board with some of the other fights. Of course, there is the elephant in the room being the fight between Vermac and Courbet. They are properly on top of each other now at Rettifilo. So a mirror match of what we saw between the 2 Ferraris a moment ago with Pino versus Martz. Let's see here from Vermac versus Courbet. Through the Curva Grande we go. 5 minutes left to go in this race. And Patrick Leger, if he plays his strategy right, could be looking at his 2nd overall victory of the season and the first time that it would have been official under checkered flags, not under red flags. I'm sure that is going to be a weight he really does want to lift from his shoulders in this championship just before the season is out. 4.5 minutes left to go. Right now, that Lamborghini, sharp as always. Currently in the hands of new driver to the field, Nathan Courbet, is holding off Tyler Vermac rather well at the moment, but there are little cracks in the facade here from the Huracan as we head up through the Curva de Saraglio. Now taking a look at some of the other fights, there were a few to discuss as we followed on with a moment ago, that of the fight between the 2 Ferraris. We now see this is Tate v Capco. Audi versus Ford, not an oftenly cited lineup until this season, and we now see the latest among it, as out wide there was Patrick Capco. Now, he's going to have tremendous straight line speed over the Audi, so it's going to be a case of a Caleb Tate to defend the inside at all costs, because even if he can't be ahead, he can at least try to be alongside, and having that inside line is going to be instrumental to hold his ground. But you can see here, the Audi is managing just fine. Those 2 extra cylinders are actually paying him quite a solid bit of dividends. Number 19 late onto the brakes there in towards turn 1, a little bit deep, but he holds it. Great move by Tate. On board to his fellow V10 then. Nathan Corbet of Lamborghini X-Ray Motorsport Team. 888 car toe-to-toe with 5-star eSports' Tyler Vermack. But Vermack tries to side to look at the inside there at Retafilo. Backs off of it, so he's trying, by looks of it, to attempt a bit of a fake out here on Nathan Corbet. A sort of phantom dive bomb, trying to get him to play defensive early so that he compromises his run through that, an area that is integral to keeping his position, because he needs the momentum in Sector 1 to hold off the McLaren, which on paper is faster than him on the straights. Up through De La Rogia. That screeching sound of that 5.2 litre V10 engine. Turning the volume up for just a little moment there, just to savour the sound. Of course, a soon-to-be extinct engine note in GT racing. It is a pity. And hang on just a moment here. We do have a yellow flag up ahead. It's the 998. Now, I'm curious to see what's gone on here for the 998 car. I'm trying to have a look. That's for Jan Martz. And also, you can see there, is that Ruben Pino with him? No, that's Daniel Marquez. That is the 22 with him, so we are clear of the yellow flags at the moment, but that has been a very sudden development for Jan Martz. It's kicked him away from his chances to fight with Ruben Pino, and it's forced this one here into the pit lane. Going to catch back on board as updates continue to fly on through. Vermack loses a lot of distance from Ascari to Parabolica to that of Nathan Corbet. With 2 minutes left to go, we are swiftly approaching the advent of one more lap of racing, and into the pits dives that of Nathan Corbet. Following him is Tyler Vermack, and Patrick Leger up in front of them there. You can see is also in the pits. What's the call for David Kolaric? That's what I'm wondering. Kolaric, I should say. You can see in the background there, that blue Bohemia Motorsports Ferrari also in. So that's the top 4 currently encompassed within the pit lane. It does leave one driver out in terms of what's going to be the strategy here inside the top 10 for Gabriel Rivera. He's up and ahead there. You can see Ben Cheeseman, who will have the position off him the moment he hesitates to the pit lane. And really, he's not got many more options here. That 63 has got to come in. You can see him already motioning to the right-hand side. As he comes into the pit lane, there goes the Aston Martin. As we've already got information, Leger is out of the pit lane. Corbet in second, Vermack in third. A very close run from the exit of the pits in towards Retafilo. You can see from behind them approaching, looks to be the Lexus there of Zolt Beefgartner. He's in that, by the looks of it there, the 4th place spot, because behind him is David Kolaric. Ben Cheeseman got up and ahead of Kolaric. We see about to leave the pit lane will be Rivera. You see Deesh also in the mix as well. We'll wait for that full update in a moment's time. At the bottom line of it is Patrick Leger still leads here onto what is, as it stands, the final lap of racing. Right behind, this is going to be down to the wire. Gabriel Rivera has been given a drive-through penalty. He's intercepted there by Ruben Pino in the 927 car. As we head up in towards the last lap of racing, this could be all or nothing now on the line for the top 3. Patrick Leger had disaster in race 1, but it could be a serious turnaround drive here on race 2. Only having to face off against a few more corners as he heads from the Curva de Saraglio in towards the Variante Ascari. From behind him, Nathan Corbet and Tyler Vermack continue to clash heads here, having a glance in with the pair as they head up through Ascari. A big snap there for Vermack. He's on the gravel and sadly will not see the chances anymore to fight with Corbet. That's going to be the nail in the coffin that will take him away from fighting for second, as heading up towards the line just a moment from now, we're on board with Patrick Leger, and this is the turnaround of the ages. Race 1 saw him out. Race 2 sees him in. Down towards the line then, the checkered flag is awaiting his arrival. Patrick Leger, for the first time not under red flags, is an outright race winner.
The leader has finished the race.
That is a tremendous weight lifted from his shoulders. And Corbet takes second. A brilliant result there from behind in the 888 car. The last time Leger had a bit of it, he was only a corner away before red flag struck and the server crashed back in Imola. But here in Monza, denied no longer the pleasantries of an outright victory. Patrick Leger wins race 2, outright and in the rookies. Further down the line then we see from Ruben Pino and Gabriel Rivera. Now reluctantly for Rivera, there is a sizable penalty coming his way as he makes his way down through to the checkered flag. This is going to be a moment where he has to face the music. That's not to take away from what a solid performance he has had thus far, but it will be 30 seconds on him. Jan Martz approaches the line. He's about to see north of a top 10 spot, and Caleb Tate will come up into that top 10 by the end of race 2. Cross the line there. Tate to what looks to be at the moment 11th, but we'll wait for the full result to come on through. Capco to provisional 12th. Anderson. It has been a very, very troubled day here on race 2. Away from the highs of a race 1 outright victory. Anderson 13th, but could see a possible 12th when we see the final result of things there. Richard Claffey and a provisional 14th, and we still wait for the arrival of Duivedi and Casanella. Casanella down to the line. Duivedi just about to head up to the curve of Parabolica. Richard Claffey to 14th. He crosses the line there. Casanella to 18th. We wait then for Path Duivedi, who just rounds out through the curve of Parabolica. But Patrick Leger wins outright here in race 2 of Season 6, Round 10 of the NLRL Sunday League, powered by TRTN, with Nathan Corbet in 2nd, Tyler Vermack in 3rd for your official podium there. Zolt Beefgartner into 4th, Ben Cheeseman in the top 5, Carlos Disch in 6th with Honda, and then we see further down the line is David Kalaric in 7th, Ruben Pino in 8th, Jan Martz in 9th, and Caleb Tate rounds out the top 10. Patrick Capco in 11th, Declan Anderson to 12th, Gabriel Rivera with that 30-second penalty drops from the top 10. It is now 13th in race 2. Richard Claffey in 14th, Pedro Lopo in 15th, Luca Tamburini in 16th, Path Duivedi in 17th, Flavio Casanella in 18th, Daniel Marquez in 19th, and Ken Thomas starts our wad of DNFs here from 20th to 23rd. A brutal second race of 3 with Thomas, Lamming, Schwab, and Zafel all out. In the case of Lamming, he's left. We actually can't access the 87. If he does rejoin now, he'll start from the back. A shocking state of affairs developing through race 2. That was really quite a rough run for many. But what it yielded for Patrick Leger is it finally silenced any of the doubts coming out of race 1. And so moving away from race 2 into race 3, as we just take one last look at the regulations for today's event before we head up in towards the post-race celebrations there. We'll be speaking hopefully with Ben Meredith later on. If not, we'll be getting straight into the talks on Season 7's regs and the calendar reveal, where we hope to be joined by Patrick Leger and Tyler Vermack, your 2 Drivers' Champions of the season. Vermack for the outright Drivers' Championship, Leger for the rookies, for the reveal of Season 7's calendar. And so for race 3, same grid as always. A few minor changes, though, with the absence of the number 87 of Nick Lamming, but that still gives us 22 cars to play with. So what we started at 20, I think it was 24 for today's race, now down to 22. Not too bad, all things considered, because there have been far worse rounds this season, mind you. Bathurst, certainly one that springs to mind here. But as we see it now, 2 minutes left to go. Leger's back on pole. Anderson's right alongside him. Disch in 3rd. Corbet 4th. Vermack 5th. Beefgartner, Cheeseman, Schwab, Lopo, and Kolaric to round the top 10 out. And so this is definitely going to be a curious one now. All tensions at an all-time high. Their last opportunity to share the grid in Season 6. How exactly does this one play out? They said the gloves were off coming off into tonight's event. And really, it's quite hard to disprove that, given just how brutal things have been here in Monza. Anderson v. Leger at the front row. Disch versus Corbet. Now, historically, we've seen throughout today's event, he's had the better start over Leger twice now. Is it going to be 3rd time's the charm for Leger to have the better start off of the front row? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, of course, and Leger has had quite the expectation to play with. Last weekend, he was crowned Rookies Champion, and now we've got Declan Anderson in the picture, going toe-to-toe with him after only a few races in Season 6. So there's definitely some expectation for performance here, but it is worth noting these two are teammates at the end of the day. They are 5-Star's latest attendees to their ACC lineup. Leger was signed not too long after his first victory outright of the season in Imola. Anderson was signed after last weekend at the Red Bull Ring. We are 15 seconds away from catching back on board for the third and last time today with Patrick Leger for the race starting procedure. 10 seconds out. And this is where it all boils down, folks. It's been weeks in the making. The last race of Season 6 is upon us.
30 seconds.
On board then to Patrick Leger. Let's do this one last time then. Here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. A swan song to Season 6, what has been, by and large, one of the most eventful seasons of the NLRL Sunday League, and the first under the stewardship of TRTN. It has been a great pleasure from us here to sponsor and cover this series, as has always been the case for coverage, but the first time of us stepping into the frame to be its title sponsors. It has been quite the interesting season, indeed. Having started all the way back in the trailing end of May, we find ourselves now just before August, staring down the last round, the last race. It all boils down to one last shot here. 20 minutes between us and the end of the road. Starting from the pit lane, the 114 of Ben Cheeseman, and a sudden development there for the 5-star 114 McLaren. Leaves his teammates Leger, Anderson and Vermaak in the top 5. So those major overtaking opportunities to watch out for again. The Retifilos. Not the Retifilos, sorry, the Variantes. Rettifilo, Della Rosa and Ascari. Not the Retifilos. There's no plural involved there. There's only one. Only one corner could be so mindlessly cruel. Turn 1 and 2 then. Definitely keep an eye on for that one. Not only in the first couple of laps here, but throughout the races. It has actually found itself to be quite a surprising hub for overtaking opportunities. But it's again a who dares win scenario, as we've said for many a corner over many a visit throughout this season. As well as keeping an eye out then for the runs in between these corners. That's really where we've started to see a lot more action kick off. A lot of slipstreaming going on. A lot of drivers getting up side by side with one another. These straights are integral for success today for these drivers. They've been gearing their machines around that pursuit of the highest accolade in straight line speed. And taking a look at that once again over historic data collected through the last 5 seasons before today's round. This is what we've been able to scarper up so far. Lamborghini actually has the fastest car available, but it's not in tonight's round. We saw it last season, driven by one of the many aliases of Hayden Prodger of 5-Star Esports, the Writer Engineering REX. Achieved 181 miles an hour. Now, there are rumours that Lexus can do up to 178. That's been reported from Declan Anderson in this testing for tonight's round, so wouldn't disprove it, but what we do have on paper is 174 miles an hour, or roughly 279 kilometers an hour. 174 miles an hour, same mark there for BMW and Ferrari. Ford just ever so slightly faster, 175 miles an hour. That's the same story for the Aston Martin V12 Vantage, of which was used most famously in the Sunday League by Season 1 champion Christian Lepay of Maloir Racing. Further down the line, Bentley with 172 miles an hour. Same mark as another duo of British manufacturers behind them, McLaren and Aston Martin, with the V8 Vantage. Now, there are a few erroneous gaps in between all of that. Of course, lack of data for Porsche, Lamborghini, Audi, Honda, Nissan, the list goes on. What we found is that the majority of them do slot in roughly around that 172 to 174 mark. There is quite a fair deal of balance in the modern GTs. It's really been these groundbreakers like the Mustang to come along and upset that balance. And there's always been, of course, the last of the old guards, and the Lexus RCF still being an absolute demon on straight lines. And that's been a bit of a struggle point for the Honda of Carlos Disch. But of course, we saw it was a very spry, very fleet of foot machine in Alton Park. So I don't think this is necessarily the last chapter we'll see with Honda and Carlos Disch. This might very well just be the start of things heading up in towards Season 7. Well, we'll have a look into what that's going to look like not long from this point, as we have one more race left to play for. 20 minutes against the clock. It has been a long time building in towards this one. All championships have been covered as of last week, and leading us in towards one last dash here in what has been a revolutionary new season of the NLRL Sunday League here in Season 6. One of the largest regulations reforms the series had ever seen. Has given us a new generation of racing and a new generation of driver. Down to the line we go. 20 minutes on the clock at the Temple of Speed. Let's do this one last time. We are green and racing here in Monza. One last go in Season 6, and it's third time's the charm for Patrick Leger. Finally gets the jump on the Lexus. You can already see, though, climbing his way back up. It's straight line speed to the aid of Declan Anderson. Right on his rear bumper, though, is Carlos Dish for the run up towards turn 1 and 2 at the Variante Retafilo. Looking at a mirror match of race 2 start, side by side between Anderson and Leger. Is it Anderson to take position? Will it be Leger on rebuttal? It looks to be Anderson, and following in his stead there, you can see now parked parallel to Patrick Leger is that of Carlos Dish with Honda. Packed in like sardines, any which angle can see another driver in it. From the interior views of the Mustang, Patrick Leger had a solid start, but the rest of the field around him had an exceptional one. On the run up to the Variante Della Rosa, contact between Honda and Ford. Lexus is out wide. Ford retake the lead, but at what cost? Down at Della Rosa, it is only Bedlam again for the number 9. I'm not entirely sure how it started there. You can see he was on the grass, actually drifted back in, knocked the Honda. The Lexus already saw what was going on there, darted out of the way to get clear of it. The Ford retook the lead, but at what cost has that been? As the yellow flags are out, you can see even more trouble in between the Lesmos, and caught up in there, dare I say it, that's Nathan Corbet. That is a disaster for the Lamborghini. Had such a solid outing in race 1 and 2. It all collapses underfoot here at the Curva de Lesmo at turn 6 and 7. Leger leads from a furious Declan Anderson, and that is about the same emotion felt here by Carlos Dish, having been forced down to third with Vermac right on his rear bumper as they head through to turn 11. The McLaren looks for the inside on the Honda, but can't have a squeeze of it on lap 1. Behind them, Zolt Beefgartner, very close instead here, and you'll see of the 3, he's got the most to talk about when it comes to straight line speed, so this is a bit of a bullet train, but he won't take it. Into the pits goes Beefgartner. Now that is a curiosity. Lap 1 into the pits. What is the thought process here of the TSRC number 599? What is it that he knows that we don't? He wants to keep himself as clear of traffic troubles as possible. This is an ultra-conservative approach by Zolt Beefgartner. And I do wonder yet what method to the madness exists there for the Hungarian talent of TSRC Esports. We see here very close battling going on across the field. Super close up at the head of it. We see Kalaric versus Lopo here. Bohemia versus Talkline, 2 new teams for Season 6. Go head-to-head for 5th. Up in front, Leger tries to fight back on Declan Anderson. As now Anderson steps into the lead. The 28 having retaken the ground off screen there, I believe, in the number 28 car. Behind them, still defending third, that is Carlos Dish with Honda. He had a very great start to things there, but it all came apart down at the run of the Variante Della Rosa. Out to the Curva de Saraglio. We see in the background there the rest of the grid spilling out from behind as Dish tries to hold off Vermac. Now, it's very clear on paper here that the McLaren has got more straight line speed on the Honda. Carlos Dish is a very, very sharp driver around the edges here. It is very difficult to get the leg up on him without contact. Very firm in his defensive things. We had the pleasure of speaking with him last season when he became the Rookies champion at the time spent with 5-star, then moved across to Euro Titans. We see there his old teammate Tyler Vermac goes for the inside. It's contact. Dish collides with Vermac. I don't know if there really ever was the space to go for it there. Looking on the replay, this was up towards the Curva Parabolica. And it has only gotten worse from here on out. I really am at a loss for things here. We now see, from the perspective of Tyler Vermac, he is swamped in, under fire here from the midfield. As he's 3 abreast there, as it stands to be the case between Kalaric and Claffey. 3 abreast on the way down towards Retafilo. He can only end in tears. He goes up and ahead, nearly makes contact with the car out in front. Daniel Marquez leads that charge. Then Lopo, then Vermac, who then makes contact with Claffey. Right up and alongside him, David Kalaric. Then Richard Claffey. Then you can see from behind there, Kexton Racing's Felix Schwab. We see a bit of contact there. Vermac drifts out onto Claffey at the Curva Grande. He's boxed in. There's nowhere he can go. We see, though, that Felix Schwab is trying to make it 3 abreast. It's disaster if he does. He nearly collects Vermac on the way out. We see off in the background there at Della Rosa was, I believe, yes, that is Daniel Marquez. A huge spill down through towards the Curva de Lesmo. We see the recently smitten 888 of Nathan Corbet. Now up and ahead of Vermac, and moreover, just in behind this incredibly close fight. Let's go to catch on board with them if we can here. from the point of view of either of the two parties here, the Ferrari or the Porsche. As we try to go to fine on board here with that of David Kolarek, because this is looking to be a very curious spot to watch from. He was in a super close fight with Richard Claffey. Number 77, Flavio Casanella, now dished out a stop-go 30-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We see that Richard Claffey is now being intercepted by Nathan Corbet. Pedro Lopo now looks to enter the iron sights of this one here. David Kolarek of Bohemia Motorsport. And this could definitely be a name to remember here. And same with the Bohemia team. Now in goes the number 32. A curious development then. He's in. He's got advantage of position. We see here the fighting between Leger and Anderson has kicked back off. They were just, by the time they got down towards Rettifilo, at less than a car's distance from one another. That seems to be the case just about now. It's well, I imagine you can fit a very small car in the gap they currently preside over. Maybe a Smart 4.2, maybe an Isetta. Now, I'd say that's more of a car's length we're talking on the run up towards Della Rogia. These two, you can see, gloves are off. Last round, it's going to come down to points decision here. They're just going to throw absolutely everything. Is now going for the inside. Goes Leger, super late on the brakes and trying to take the longest of lines here. Leveraging some of the knowledge he's had in his time spent racing in Formula 1 on various other leagues. Anderson tries to wrestle command from the outside line, but he falls in behind Leger. But this is actually a blessing in disguise because it allows him to take up a lot more slipstream on the Saraglio. And by the time they get up towards Parabolica, if he can't secure a move at Ascari, then he's more than likely to see one down at Parabolica. But I think he's going to take whatever opportunity presents itself first. And here at Ascari is side by side with Leger. Leger still got the better line and off the exit. So too did that of Carlos Disch, who comes rocketing on through so nearly as to collect the rear end of the Lexus. And now it's a double overtake as Carlos Disch is a rocket ship in the NSX. Side by side, can he hold it away from Leger? Disch from the outside. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Slides his way from Parabolica. The Ford will have it back off him. That is a lunge of the ages, though, for the Honda of Carlos Disch. Perhaps we are to reconsider our tune when it comes to the talks surrounding that NSX, because that was the stuff of heroism. Heading in towards Rettifilo, Leger try absolutely everything to hold his ground from Carlos Disch, but it's trouble. Disch escapes on through. There goes the Honda, now leading here in Monza. They're a long, long way from home. They're a long way from Suzuka at Honda's own stomping ground, but the NSX is leading at the heart of Italian motor racing. After calamity down at turn 1 there, a big spillover between that top three now puts Carlos Disch in the lead, and he is looking at the very last moment of this season to walk home with one more possible accolade to become the first ever driver to take a win with Honda. Last season, he became the first ever Swiss driver to take a race win in Sunday League history. He's looking to put history into the question again here for tonight's round. More on that in a moment. We see still close fighting here from further down the field. As it stands to be the case, Ken Thomas versus Richard Claffey. But you can see in recent developments, he's now actually fallen in behind that of Felix Schwab. That's the canary yellow number 88. Right behind him there, you can see is, I believe, looking here, Ruben Pino fighting with Caleb Tate on the run-up the Saraglio in towards Ascari for 9th place. Meanwhile, up at the head of the field, intercepting that of Carlos Disch, and you can see with the Lexus parked right on his rear bumper, it's Anderson, Leger and Disch all contending the lead with just about 10 minutes coming up on. We've just crossed out past 11 minutes. These drivers may look to run things all the way to the very end when it comes to the pit strategy. But no, we see there, Leger's in, playing alternatives here in race 3. Leger knows that pound for pound, he can't match Disch in the corners. Neither Anderson in the straights. He's in between a rock and a hard place. He'll let them fight among themselves because it could bring about their unmaking. Marquez now 3rd, Lopo 4th, Leger into his pit box. It's going to have to be a very quick stop here. Joining him in the paddock, Caleb Tate, Luca Tamburini and Jan Martz. Felix Schwab looks to set his sights upon a possible fight here with Richard Claffey. Further down the line, I have a glance at some of the other battles here. There was one in question for a while for Dwivedi v Tate, but that's now way out. So the latest fight on our radar is Anderson versus Deesh.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
You see here leaving the pit lane, Tamburini and Tate. Let's go to catch on board with the two Japanese juggernauts at the head of the field. Honda versus Lexus. They're head-to-head here as Carlos Deesh tries to hold his ground from Declan Anderson. Watching here with Anderson, having taken his rookies in the season before, well, not the season before, the round before on this season, his rookie's first ever win, and now his first overall win. Must go toe-to-toe with one who walked in his steps before. Last season's rookies champ, Carlos Deesh, on his recent move to Honda. This could be a very unique second chapter to race 3. In the final chapter of this season, we could be seeing history in the making. We'll have to refresh our notes here because only earlier this season in our visit to Donington Park did we see a new manufacturer enter the ring, with Ferrari claiming their first ever win in Sunday League history, courtesy of Jared Vermeulen. But I think we are very much on the cards to see more history made tonight. As they continue to pursue each other down through Rettifilo. Now Honda has got quite some get up and go here. Of course, twin turbos versus naturally aspirated. The Honda will have a lot more shove under the right foot, but it lacks the same top end that the Lexus brings to the table. Anderson closing on Deesh here on the run up through Della Rosia. Out through the curve into Lesmo. Anderson v Deesh, still plenty on the cards here. 8 minutes left to go in this race. Deesh leads over Anderson, Marquez in 3rd, Lopo 4th, Claffey 5th, and Schwab in 6th. Pino, Rivera, Dwivedi, and Thomas to round out the top 10 at the moment. We saw a little bit of trouble there off of Della Rosia for Path Dwivedi. Zolbeef Garner now 10th, as it was actually a very recent pit stop here for Ken Thomas. See, cutting the first chicane there, forced into the emergency exit, Caleb Tate in the number 90. The Beefgartner's in that top 10 at the moment. Leger in 11th and Mack in 12th. Then Kolarik, then Thomas. It still presents the question, what's going to be the strategy for the two leading cars here? Honda versus Lexus. I would say never before seen lineup here on the Sunday League, as we see the latter of two. Declan Anderson attempts an undercut, goes into the pits before Carlos Deesh with 7 minutes on the line. Now, from Deesh's point of view, he's really got the all or nothing approach to things. He could run it all the way to the very last possible moment and possibly, as it would stand, emerge victorious. What will the Swiss talent do then? He's already made history once. There is nothing to say he cannot do it again. Honda have never seen a race win in the NLRL Sunday League, and here on race number 75, approaching not long from now, by the end of next season, will be on our centenary race of the Sunday League. Could we be seeing on its 3/4 of the way journey to that mark a brand new manufacturer in the ring? To give some context, just as we follow on here with Carlos Deesh before we go and look for our next battle, I believe at this time is the battle of the Porsches, Lopo v Claffey, as they round through Della Rosia. The first ever McLaren to win a race in the Sunday League was on Season 1, Round 1 at Misano. It was Wesley Kuiper in the 111 car. The first BMW to win was Melvin Milliston in Austria in Season 1, Round 4. The first Aston Martin was Hayden Puttock in the number 99 at Nürburgring, Season 1, Round 8 in a finale round. First ever Lexus was Jason Bush. First ever Ford was Martijn van Manen. First AMG was Cas van Velzen. First Porsche is debated over its I think it is possibly Van Velzen. This was one that was debated to us. Originally, we said it was Alan Alexander in Kyle Army, but that also stands as its own accolade as the first ever outright rookies win. The first Bentley to win was Hayden Prodger in Alton Park, Season 5, Round 10. A season to this very event. And this season saw Ferrari enter the mix in Donington Park, courtesy of Jared Vermeulen. All in all, then, 9 manufacturers have won a race in the 75 races up until today on the NLRL Sunday League. We are about to see double figures. If he can pull this off, it's a big if. because Carlos Dish, he is playing against very uncertain odds. This is a car that for the most part on console is not particularly well proven. This is a car that has got its own problems. We saw this in Alton Park. It's not an easy machine to corral to form, as Dish has already demonstrated, but he was still able to deliver on solid results behind his teammate at Euro Titans Fake Galaxy. I would say we are looking at the epitome here of a possible perfect drive in this second half by Carlos Dish. He is a man totally lasered in on a single unified objective. Win at all costs. 4.5 minutes left to go in this race. There is still absolutely the chance for Honda to enter the winner's circle through Carlos Dish, a driver who has already made history in the season gone by. First Swiss driver ever to win. First Swiss driver to take the Rookies Championship. The last current Rookies Champion before last weekend. That was then taken over. The most latest on the roster has been that of Patrick Leger. Looking here with some more fights going on. Pino v Tate. Tate for the inside at Rettifilo. This is for 13th place. Out through Rettifilo we go. The Ferrari holds the inside there into the second half of Rettifilo and keeps his ground. Ruben Pino, solid defense over Caleb Tate with Audi. Further behind, Felix Schwab versus Pedro Lopo. We saw the second half of that Porsche fight. I believe it was Richard Claffey came into the pits not long ago, so it leaves Felix Schwab to try and intercept that of Pedro Lopo. Daniel Marquez makes second. You can see right behind him there. That is Nathan Corbet in the 888 car. But sadly, a major casualty in race 3 today. 3.5 minutes left to go. What's the strategy for Lopo? We see him angling to driver's right. Let's see if he goes into the pits. Yes, he is. He's going for it. Fakes out an approach there from Schwab, who was too late to follow him. Otherwise, would have seen an overspeeding penalty into that pit lane. Further down the line, Claffey v Kalaric on the run up to Ascari. This is for 10th at the moment between these two. Up and around the Varianti Ascari. Behind them is Ken Thomas. Following from behind him appears to be, actually no, just out in front of him is that of Flavio Castanella. See Caleb Tate versus Ruben Pino. They had a brief exchange there just at the start of this lap. Then out through Saraglio, now out through Ascari, with Tate momentarily having kind of that position up and away from Ruben Pino. Pino retakes it at Ascari up into 13th. The latest into the pit lane has been Pedro Lopo. Gabriel Rivera stays out. Same story for Carlos Dish, Daniel Marquez and Felix Schwab. 2.5 minutes left to go. So time is ticking for these drivers. You now see the latest developments on the Kalaric v Claffey fight. Now, worth keeping note here, Ferrari's ever so slightly faster in the straights, but the Porsche is uniquely good under the brakes, but they're held up by that 777 car. That's Pedro Lopo just joining onto the mix, but he's now in behind them as it was contact there between Kalaric and Claffey. Off the exit of Rettifilo. Kalaric still holds the ground. Claffey yields there to try and give him the space back, but doesn't want to forfeit too much ground because right on them here is Pedro Lopo. In a fight inside the top 10 now, Kalaric v Lopo v Claffey for 9th place, heading up through to Della Rosia, who leads. It's going to be Kalaric, then from Lopo, as we see nearly contact there, off through Della Rosia. That could have got ugly. Kalaric, last of the late breakers. It takes a serious set of stones to outbrake the 992. A car renowned for its stopping power. Meanwhile, news from the front lines. In the pits comes Carlos Dish, and Daniel Marquez joins him as well. Felix Schwab likely to join them as well. Into the pits goes the number 5. That leaves Rivera, who's more than likely, you can already see that he's indicating his way in. So this is all or nothing now. Beefgartner is up and ahead of Leger after taking that first lap pit stop. So Beefgartner is looking to intercept here for his first ever win. Now, if it goes down to the wire, it could be Dish for the first ever Honda win. It could be Beefgartner to be the first ever Hungarian to win in this series. Following closely behind, though, is Patrick Leger. The 54 is about to leave, so here comes Carlos Dish to the exit. You can just see there in the background the approaching Lexus of Zolt Beefgartner in hot pursuit. 174 miles an hour as he charges in towards turn 1. But just holding it at a hair's width is Carlos Dish. I don't believe what it is we're seeing on our screens at the moment, folks. Seeing here, path to Ivedi versus, looking here, that's Ben Cheeseman on his tail, now on his side. Cheeseman just slowly but surely outrunning the Ferrari in towards the run of the curve at Parabolica. So close to contact, but they hold it out just enough there at turn 11. To avoid contact. Going back on then to our leading trio as it all comes down to the wire. We are looking at the real possibility in tonight's event to see the first ever win for Honda at the command of Carlos Dish. transferring away from a time long spent with Audi this season. We are on the end of days. This is the last shot they'll have. They need to nail Ascari. They need to nail Parabolica. There is no room left for error in this equation. Carlos Dish in through to Ascari for the last time then on the final lap of race 3. And as we head up through to turn 11, it's a bit of a ropey exit there from out of Ascari. In behind them, the 599 is being intercepted by the number 9. It's going to be a very close photo finish there for Beefgartner versus Leger. But watching here with Carlos Dish, throughout this series, 75 races in total. McLaren, BMW, Aston Martin, Lexus, Ford, AMG, Porsche, Bentley and Ferrari have all win, but never once have they stood in Honda's position. Down to the line, Carlos Dish takes Honda's first ever win at the last stop of the season. He wins in race 3 at Monza. Unbelievable. Beefgartner takes a very close second from Leger, who wins, and the rookies 161 thousandths away from second place. Declan Anderson makes 4th. Tyler Vermack rounds out the top 5. Daniel Marquez in 6th. Felix Schwab in 7th. Kalaric, Gabe Lopo 9th. Claffey 10th. Thomas in 11th. Tate to 12th. Then from behind him, Ruben Pino to 13th. Gabriel Rivera to 14th. Tamburini to 15th. It's going to come down to the wire between these two. Martin Zaffel for 16th there and 17th. Down to the line. Zaffel from Martz. Cheeseman in a serious spot of bother. We saw him not long ago, was fighting with Path Dwivedi. And the 114 now in behind Dwivedi there. It's going to be quite a serious investigation then as to what's gone on between those two. Dwivedi takes 18th. Cheeseman, a reluctant P19. Nathan Corbet down towards turn 11. Will take 20th. And then we await for the arrival there of Patrick Capco for 21st. Flavio Casanella secures 22nd. That is history made manifest there for the 54. Honda, the 10th manufacturer to take a win in the NLRL Sunday League on its 75th race in its history. Carlos Dish. Some have said, including himself, you had to be stupid enough to drive the Honda. There is method to what madness the Swiss talent has brought to us today. Better late than never on race 3. Honda win in Monza. And the final result coming in there on the left-hand side. Carlos Dish wins race 3. So that is quite something. 3 different winners in this triple header. Wins from Anderson, Leger and Dish. That is quite something. 3 different manufacturers as well entering the ring there, from Lexus, Ford, and now newest among them to take their first ever win in Sunday League history. Honda with Carlos Dish. Zolt Beefgartner 2nd, Leger 3rd, Anderson 4th, Vermack 5th, Marquez 6th, Schwab 7th, Kalaric, Lopo and Claffey to round out the top 10 from 11th to 20th. Thomas, Tate, Pino, Rivera, Tamburini, Zaffel, Martz, Dwivedi, Cheeseman and Corbet. 21st for Capco, 22nd for Casanella and a DNS for Nick Lamming. What a season it has been here on the NLRL Sunday League. And I am at quite a significant loss of what to say. It has been frankly epic. I have no words that exist that can support what it is I'm trying to say. And this has been one of the greatest seasons of the Sunday League I think we have ever seen. So, in a moment's time, we'll be hoping to catch on with some more interviews before we're joined by our driver and rookies champions, Tyler Vermack and Patrick Leger, for the reveal of Season 7's calendar. Before we do, though, let's go and try to catch on board with some interviews. And on our current interview roster, we appear to have both Patrick Leger and Declan Anderson. So we'll go and get a word in from both of these two, and then hopefully try to reach out to Ben Meredith, one of the representatives at Eurotype. You can see there in the spectator slot as well. So he's been here for tonight's round to watch on with his drivers, and I'm sure we'll be very, very delighted to see Dish's successes for Honda. More on that in a moment. are on board here with first of his outright wins. Of course, after his division win last weekend, we get the pleasure of speaking with Declan Anderson. Declan, how are you feeling then?
Yeah, it's been great. It was a very great race. Unfortunate what happened to Patrick at the start, but luckily that helped me just run away from the field and had no pressure on me. So yeah, it was great.
And how does it feel, sort of knowing that you're part of this new spearhead approach by 5-Star Esports? You're likely to be the ones leading that charge in towards the push for what has been a long, long time away from being teams champions in a series. They're going to push for it by the looks of things into Season 7. Are you coping well with the expectations?
Yeah, I feel great to be like a part of the charge. I obviously still need some things to work out with the Lexus and just overall my driving, but I feel like once I've got that down, we can really push.
Yeah, well, fantastic result for you today. I mean, it's been constant momentum coming forward. Your first division win in the rookies in the Red Bull Ring, and now your first outright victory here in Monza, just to cap off what has been a bit of a baptism by fire this season, I imagine, but one that has definitely taught quite a lot of lessons. And what's going to be the sort of thought process coming up in towards Season 7?
Yeah, definitely lots of lessons learned. Yeah, just mainly over driving, which I need to work on. But hopefully, once I've said, once I got that down, hopefully, yeah, can't wait for Season 7.
Well, it's been great speaking with you, Declan. Very well done today on today's result. All the best to you there and to the 5-Star Esports team. Brilliant, brilliant result from you guys today. And we'll hopefully speak to you again fairly soon then on a running towards Season 7, if this is what we can come to expect, some more possible outright wins coming your way.
Yeah, hopefully. I'd be happy to see you there. So
all the best,
yeah,
Declan. Take care.
You too.
So that was Declan Anderson, one of 3 race winners today here on Season 6, Round 10. Now, also, as it would appear, queuing up for an interview, of course, is Patrick Leger. We'll be speaking more with him in a moment's time. But before we do, we just want to get a quick word in here. So this might be the first time we've ever had the opportunity to speak to him with Daniel Marquez. Now, we'll be joined by Leger in a moment's time because we hope to try and get Tyler Vermack in as well, as these two will play pivotal roles in the deciding of Season 7's calendar. More to follow on that, so do hold on, as we'll first get a word here from Marquez, then we'll speak with Patrick Leger. So one moment. And our next driver on the interview roster here for Season 6, Round 10 is Daniel Marquez. Daniel, how are you feeling after today's race?
Very, very good. Very, very good. My last race is good. P6 in hall, in P3 in rookies is very well. My team is Torque Motorsport team, and very well, very good race. Third race, but the second race is a disaster.
Yeah, disaster. We saw there was a lot of drivers caught up in trouble in that second race. But what's your thoughts and feelings coming up in towards Season 7?
What? Not speak English very. Sorry.
What are your thoughts coming into the next season of this series?
The next is yeah. I mean, yeah. And I work for the fight for three first positions. Yeah.
Well, it's been a great result for you today. A mixed bag of racing there, but obviously podium in class. Great stuff from you today. Hope to see more of that coming in towards the next season.
I don't understand. Sorry.
You
I
did
don't.
you did well today, and we'll look forward to seeing that
Yeah,
next
yeah, yeah,
season.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very well, very well. Yeah.
Well, that's about all we've got time
Okay.
for before we get on to the rest of our interviews. So have a wonderful
Yeah.
rest of your evening. It's nice speaking
Yeah.
with you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. So that was Daniel Marquez. Now, he did mention to us as well before we conducted the interview that his English-speaking skills weren't the greatest, but we respect the fact that he wanted to come on and give it a whirl there. It's all fair for the opportunities. So our last interview for today before we go and catch on board from both of our champions for the reveal of Season 7's calendar will be that from Patrick Leger. So one moment. And on board here with who was crowned last week as the Rookies champion and has taken another outright race win of his own, on board here with Patrick Leger. Patrick, how are you feeling after what has been a very chaotic weekend?
I feel like someone has put a hit on me because I feel like one driver was consistently trying to get me, to say the least. Other than that, still happy that I got a P1 and a P2. But I mean, yeah, I don't know what's going on, to be fair.
Oh yeah, I imagine there's going to be quite an extensive look at things from the race control team, because there was, I'm pretty sure there's not been a single race that's not had a pile up in tonight's event. It has been a bit of a rough one, no doubt, and you've seen the good and the bad of it all over the course of this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Carlos Dish, I don't know his first name, but Dish, he in lap one he just drive through me like I was not there. I mean, like I don't even know why he did that. And in lap two at turn, and in the race three at turn 3, he falls me on the grass, which almost causes another pile up with me and Anderson. I mean, I'm glad that Anderson was able to avoid me, but yeah, I guess Deesh needs to read a book of how to race for dummies. I mean, like, that was diabolical, not gonna lie.
Well, regardless, it's been definitely an interesting weekend for you, and we'll keep you on with us here whilst we quickly go to collect that of Tyler Vermack, who will be joining us for the reveal of the calendar for Season 7, where you and him will have equal input on the drivers and rookies' choices. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that Vermack is looking to pick the Nordschleifer. Any indication of what you would have if it landed on the rookie's choice on the wheel?
I think me and Vermaak has similar taste because I wanted to pick the Nordschleife as well.
So we've got a triple chance of the Nordschleifer. It's a very weighted Nordschleifer round, possibly. We of course had our first one this season. It was a bit of a kettle of fish, but it's going to be interesting to see what the reprisal of that will look like in towards Season 7. So yeah, do just bear with us a moment. We'll keep you in here and we'll quickly grab Vermack and get the calendar underway. This is the one we've been waiting for all season. Now, I actually do also have a comprehensive look of what event is going to be what structure. So it's a very curious thing. We actually now know what round is going to be what kind of event. We are just quickly trying to locate that at this time, so do bear with us. So sadly, there's been an issue there with SimGrid, so sadly we won't know what structure the event will be, but that will be later disclaimed on the SimGrid page, because for whatever reason it's gone under again. So do just bear with us. Do just bear with us, folks, here whilst we set something up. Okay, so after a little bit of setup there, we now have the wheel ready for Season 7 of the NLRL Sunday League, as we see now on the left-hand side. So we were actually given a bit of a clarification by Tyler Vermack that it was not the Nordschleife that he wanted. That was a rumour, supposedly, from Zolt Beefgartner. He said to us in the Discord server that apparently Vermack wanted Nords. He in fact wants Bathurst. So instead of a triple stack weighted on the Nordschleife, we now have double and double on Bathurst. So that's going to be a rather interesting one. So if you direct your attention to the stream, gentlemen, you'll be able to see the. Sadly, I can't stream it in Discord. It massively messes up OBS for some reason. But here we have the wheel, the infamous wheel. This has decided the calendar for multiple seasons now, the NLRL Sunday League, and the fate of Season 7 now rests in its indiscriminate hands. So let's get this ball rolling, or this wheel rolling, I should say. And so our first destination, round 1 of Season 7, will take us to, by the looks of it there, will it tick over into that one? No, it will take us to the Misano World Circuit. What are the thoughts on that, gentlemen?
I love Misano, not gonna lie. I mean, it's a little bit of a bike track, but I absolutely love it. I mean, you need to drive it on the edge, and if you go over, you get an instant track limit. I mean, those are the races I love.
I saw very recently with GT World Challenge, there was a very chaotic start in Misano this season, so I'm looking forward to seeing if that gets the same kind of intensity. We have it in, oh yeah, finally we do have it in NLRL, and it will be, what, is that apparently going to be in wet conditions then? I mean, I'm looking forward to that, certainly. So that was the first. That was the first round. So round 2 of the championship. Bear in mind, there is a specific set order for sprint and enduros, but sadly we can't access it today. It might be. It could be. Yes, it's going to be Bathurst. It's driver's choice. I think that might actually be the first time we've got. No, we got it last season. I'm pretty sure we got it last season. So that's Bathurst that will be joining the calendar. Now, bear in mind, there is the double-edged sword that we could again land on Bathurst. We could actually see duplicate races. It's very rare. I mean, the odds are super high. And Bathurst already has a bit of a rolling reputation in this series. So I am looking forward to seeing what goes in our third trip to it. Now getting the ball rolling again. Round 3 of Season 7 of the NLRL Sunday League. Where are we off to? It looks like we're heading to New York. We're going to Watkins Glen. Now that I am looking forward to. That is a fantastic circuit. It's a little bit more on the lenient end for track limits. It's very fun to battle on from the GT3 point of view. Very perilous ascent uphill, but a lot of action in there. Proper old school American style track. So definitely going to be an interesting one to see. And thoughts?
I mean, I love Watkins Glen. I'm not particularly fast there, but I love the way the track is designed, not gonna lie.
So the next round, let's find out. Round 4 of Season 7 of the NLRL Sunday League. Where are we off to? We still, bear in mind, have that rookie's choice. It's just going to skip out past that, I think. Will it tick over? Yes, it is. We're going to Barcelona. Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia. Not a bad track. Of course, you two can attest to this. Very close racing when it came to the pit strategy. So that's going to be quite an exciting follow-up to see Barcelona back on the calendar. Now, the one I'm really looking out for, I really want to see Silverstone again. I have a lot of... It's no secret at all. I have a lot of bias there. So let's see what round 5's looking like. And, oh my. Oh, it's not going to tick over. We are going to the Nordschleife again. We are going to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Bear in mind, it made its debut to the calendar this season, and it will be followed up in Season 7 at the midway. That's terrifying, because the last time it was quite a messy race, but that is going to be very, very interesting to see. And I can already see they're celebrating in chat. That's Zolt Beefgartner. Yes, he's very happy chap to see that one on the calendar. Bear in mind, again, there is still the chances of duplicates. We could have a second Bathurst, we could have a second Nordschleife. That's going to be a living hell for race control, but we'll find out. Let's see round 6. Round 6, we are going to... Oh, please. Oh, yes, it is. Donington Park. What a round.
Oh, boom.
Last 2 seasons have been absolute cinema at Donington, so I'm really looking forward to that one on the calendar. And in the second half, again, as it was in the last 2 seasons, where we had some real breakout results. Michael Harris and Jared Vermeulen, the last 2 winners at Donington Park, both for their first ever victories in Sunday League history. Season 7, round 7. Let's see, where are we off to? It could be Rookie's Choice. It's not, sadly. It's just before that. Kyle Army in Midrand, South Africa. Not too shabby. It's a great track for. It's good for close fighting. Usually, like one-on-one, there's a lot of opportunities at that track, especially in the middle and final sector, up through Lurkop, down towards Crocodiles, and out through Mineshaft, and so on and so forth. Very, very solid track indeed. We've not actually run into any like major hurdles, I'd say. The Nordschleife is a bit of a dreading one, because I'm sure it's going to be a bit of a scary run for all, considering we just had our first ever Nordschleife experience this season. So let's see what round 8 has in store. Ooh, will it tick over? Will it tick over? No, it's going to be the Suzuka circuit near Prefecture, Japan, Japanese Grand Prix. Not too bad. I mean, I've had it off with drivers where there's a bit of a split opinion. Not a lot of people like this track, but there are quite a vocal minority of people who do. It's a very crowd splitter kind of track.
I mean, I have to say it's a track where discipline is key, because it's also very narrow, and whenever there is a chance, you have to take it, else you'll be sitting behind a slower driver.
We've just seen there from Mac. I'm pretty sure this is, yes, so that's one of his favourite tracks. So that's going to be a very interesting performance from him. Of course, we have seen some performances from Mac in the past at Suzuka in the last few months. So that's going to be quite an interesting one to see. So our penultimate round, bear in mind, still have the opportunity for duplicates with the Rookie's Choice and with just the standard Bathurst. So there is absolutely still the chance for either a repeat Bathurst or a repeat Nordschleife. That would be the first time ever we've seen a duplicate event. And I think, oh my goodness, it's Silverstone. I was getting so worried for a second there. I was properly starting to sweat bullets. But thank goodness, Silverstone's back on the calendar. I'm not sure what the driver opinion is on that, but it's just a massive bias from me, having gone to Silverstone so many times. And so, the last round, round 10 of Season 7 of the NLRL Sunday League powered by TRTN. What are we looking at here? There is still the chance of duplicates. Will it be? No, sadly.
But
we will be going to your home race in Zandvoort.
Oh no, not the old Zandvoort. No.
I'm
not looking forward to that.
I've never heard a driver dread a home race more than you have.
I mean, the new Zandvoort, yes. The old Zandvoort, no.
There was still there was a few on there I was hoping to maybe see. I saw that Vermac mentioned it as well. Laguna Seca would have been a really good one to have. Things that we are sadly missing out on from this season. We're not getting Spa, we're not getting Monza, we're not getting, Valencia, Brands Hatch, we're not getting the Red Bull Ring. But I would say that the wheel doesn't lie. The wheel does not lie. We still have a very solid calendar on our hands. And no Zolder either there from Cas van Veltzen in chat, so he's not happy about that one at all. But I'd say it's not too bad. Misano, Bathurst, Watkins Glen, Barcelona, Nordschleife, Donington Park, Kyle Army, Suzuka, Silverstone and Zandvoort. Not too shabby. All things considered, not the worst calendar in the world. Of course, there's definitely going to be some upset among drivers. Of course, a lack of Seika, a lack of Zolder, a lack of, Brands Hatch. But we do have, I would say, a fairly solid starting assortment. Of course, it will be one that's going to kick you up the backside in the first few weeks with Bathurst so early on in the calendar, and then Nordschleife for only 3 weeks after that. So that's going to be an interesting one. But gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
I'm very excited about it. I mean, like that is easily going to start off with a couple of very difficult races. It makes me even more happy because that means discipline will be the key. And yeah, I'm wondering when will be the new season starting?
I sadly don't have the date because that was on, of course, the SimGrid page, but very soon, within the next few weeks. There is, of course, the Sunday League Special coming up fairly shortly, and I'll get a look as to when that is. That's a sort of non-championship fun round that's being run by the same team at Race Control. And that's a one-off over at, I believe, the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Yes, that will be on the 9th of August. So if I had to take a swinging guess, that's going to be, I imagine... Oh, we actually do have a date here, August 16th. So yeah, the week after, roughly.
Okay. I think I'm missing that first round because I'm on holiday. Yes, I am. So that's a bit of a shame. But after that, I'm back.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We've had drivers come forward with like less than the full season's roster for their run into a championship. Carlos Diesch was a very good example of that. Joined in Zolder a few rounds in to season 5 and was able to go on to not only challenge for the overall drivers' championship but take home the rookies. He fought with Cas van Velzen last season, so I wouldn't count yourself out having lost to just a single round. There is the drop points there to help you, so that'll help you past round 4.
Definitely, and I'm counting on my consistency. Of course, we never know how this next season will going. Maybe I'm involved in a lot of incident, but I'm happy that I'm not missing Bathurst at least. So that is definitely a positive sign.
That's going to be quite the baptism by fire to come back from your holiday straight into one of the most vicious rounds of the championship. So all the best of luck to you on that one.
I'm ready for it.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure, and we hope that you look forward to this new season then. And thank you for the input on being able to help us shape out this one. Sadly, obviously, Patrick, you couldn't get your choice in there for the Nordschleife, but we will still be going. So that's not the end of the world.
I mean, it's still a W, so I don't care. It's still a W.
You can have 2 Nordschleifers, but you know, we'll settle for one. Anyway, gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure. Wonderful having you guys on. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Very well done to the pair of you for over the course of this season. Champions, of course, in the drivers and rookies divisions. And I think next season, this is going to be the start of quite the big charge for 5-star with you guys at the helm now. All steam ahead.
Definitely. I mean, me, Anderson, and Vermaak, I mean, we are like definitely trying to get a top 3 in all championships. So I cannot wait.
Well, look forward to it. All right, gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Same to you, mate.
Take care. And so that was your 2 champions this season, and the drivers and rookies. Tyler Vermaak, who assisted us through the Twitch chat, and we respect his wishes to not use the microphone on the air. That's respectable. And the one that you heard for the majority of that was Patrick Leger, your rookies champion with 5-star esports Ford. Ford still remain then undefeated on the conquest of the rookies championship. And now taking a look at that season just before we discuss the new regulations ahead of us. Now, there is quite the impactful set of regs changes coming up very, very soon, folks. So taking a look, of course, at that calendar, Season 7, Round 1, Misano. Round 2 at Bathurst. Very early break in there to the Mount Panorama circuit. Round 3 at Watkins Glen. Round 4 at Barcelona. Round 5 at the Nordschleife. So we will go back to the Green Hell as we made the debut for that this season to a mixed success. Donington Park joins us once again. The 3rd season in a row for Donington to be in the second half. Now at round 6, Kyalami round 7, Suzuka at round 8, Silverstone back on the calendar for round 9, and Zandvoort is the season finale. Well then, as we stay on this page and taking a look away from what has been so far a very, very interesting season, we now can give you more information surrounding the regulations to follow. Taking a look back in then on the grid, there's your 2 champions still in the pit lane here in Monza. Now, the changes coming up. Success ballast is now going to be based off the best result, not all races of a multi-race round. So, of course, with the standard format, that means the best result of out of either the sprint or feature, not both of them. So it's no longer a individual assessment. It is a compounded result that will then decide the changes to success ballast. We noticed this because with so many races per race weekend, it was a case where drivers, especially when you saw in the case there for Tyler Vermaak, was shooting all the way up to nearly 40 kilos of additional ballast. So this is a way of sort of leveling that out, making it a little less aggressive as the season progresses for drivers. There is also the introduction of XCL balance of performance. This is our last season ran with pitskill.io. We will be moving to the XCL balance of performance listings as of Season 7, Round 1 on August 16th, which is currently the scheduled time that it will go ahead. Now, this is the biggest one. This is the last fully tracked Rookies Championship. The reason being, the Rookies Championship was having quite a major conflict with the rest of the championship in deciding accurate points distribution. It was a huge logistical nightmare to cover, and this will sadly be the last time we cover the Rookies as an individual championship. However, the Rookies will still be considered among the ranks of the newest drivers. Of course, if it is their first season, they are still a rookie, but there is no longer an individual championship. The reason being, there is a new championship, the Pro and Am Championships. The Pro Championships will be your silver and above on SimGrid listings, and your AMs will be your bronze. We decided that this was the best shot here, considering there was equal number of drivers, and as we've seen, there are plenty of silvers that can go toe-to-toe with golds, there are plenty of golds that can go toe-to-toe with platinums. So having 4 different divisions would have left us with 4 very scattered grids, so instead split it down the middle between the newcomers and the veterans. So the pros will be silver and above, AMs will be your bronze division. The numbers hopefully work themselves out. The Season 7 sign-up link will be posted as soon as possible after this race and after this broadcast ceases, and will be available only through the NLRL Discord for at least up until a week before round 1. So public opening of this, if you're watching this later on ahead of time and it's not yet the public opening time, will open up on the 9th of August. Otherwise, you can find it exclusively through the NLRL Discord server. And that's the same story for another series coming up, another project of the NLRL summer to autumn roster, the multi-class team sprint series. This is a brand new project being brought in, and that is they're hoping to start on September 25th at 6:30 p.m. So we are aiming around the Friday evening slot. And that would be the same story. Signups will be exclusively through the server until a week before the event starts. Otherwise, the SimGrid post, just to make note of it, they will have a placeholder image until the calendar itself is actually posted. So if you go onto SimGrid after this broadcast, up until we actually get the calendar out, you'll take a look in towards the page and you'll see the thumbnail image is, I believe that is, yes, Travis Pastrana's Subaru Impreza from the 2006 X Games in Los Angeles. Look for that. That's where Season 7 sign-up window is. There will hopefully be a calendar by the time this gets out to air. But until that point, that's what the image will be. So do look over towards that. That's a placeholder image for the time being. As for the multi-class one, it shows, I believe, I want to say that's Donington Park there. Turn 1, bunch of GTs making their way down through. A brilliant, brilliant run of things then. So, of course, many changes coming on. And as we mentioned as well here at TRTN, we have made a wider collaboration known now with Exclusive Racing. We are working more closely with them to have a dedicated news segment on their new website. We'll be working more closely with them heading into the rest of this year and into 2027 to hopefully cover more events from XCL as they continue this mass scale restructuring. We're looking forward to a future bright with those lot. It's going to be an interesting year ahead of us here on TRTN, but what a series it has been here on the NLRL Sunday League. Very well done then. So to summarise, your driver's champion at the end of Season 6, Tyler Vermack, your rookie's champion, Patrick Leger, and your team's champion, Euro Titans Endurance. What a season it's been, folks. That's all from us for now. We'll see you, hopefully, August 16th for round 1 of the championship as we head to Misano. That's all from us here today. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care, and good night.